Hey, what is going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, and Brian Scarborough, Fixed Air Moon, here on High Vibe TV for Spiritual Daddy. Here on this November the 14th into the 15th of 2022. Hope everybody's doing wonderful out there. Of course, we got a great episode tonight. Definitely some interesting takes on what's happened over the weekend, especially with Dave Chappelle and his monologue on SNL getting a lot of backlash. But before we get into that, I just want to see what's going on with Brian here. And how you doing?
Doing well. Doing well. Happy to be here. Welcome to a new week of life, everybody. A new Monday, new start to our week. Yeah, that was a crazy weekend. Just with the election stuff. I wasn't privy to the Saturday Night Live stuff until I saw you today, and you had seen that, and I was like, damn, that was quite the SNL. Dave Chappelle killed it. I thought he was absolutely hilarious. I just want to say that. Like, it's comedy. Like, and I liked what he said at the end too. But we'll get into that more. But yeah, it was good stuff.
I mean, yeah, and it's kind of sad because I thought it was over. This whole like cancel culture and comedy's comedy, but it doesn't seem so, because taking a look at what we're seeing here is pretty crazy. I mean, if you just look up right now in the news right now, it's pretty mind-boggling to me to see, right? Like, Dave Chappelle SNL monologue sparks backlash among being anti-Semitic. His monologue by NPR disappoints on Saturday Night Live. He talks Kanye, anti-Semitism, and Trump in SNL. And if you notice, CNN and NPR seem to be these top things. But what the craziest thing that I found was that he switched his SNL monologue between rehearsal and the live show. So when he went to do the dress rehearsal, because it's a live show, he had a different monologue. And he knew that people wouldn't like what he would say. So he basically did a bait and switch. He faked the first monologue. And he knew, because there was actually people who were saying that during the dress rehearsal that, there were writers that refused to work with him because of his prior jokes, especially that were made about transphobic and homophobic jokes. So he went and he switched it up. And then, of course, the live 15-minute long monologue, however, caused even more controversy for other reasons. And even the Anti-Defamation League president is saying that he is popularizing, I would just say he's making popular anti-Semitism and doing it through his jokes. I don't know. What are you feeling about this situation?
Well, I think he was really just making a comedy bit about Kanye West, right? Because Kanye West has come out a few weeks back or a month ago. I don't know how long it was at this point, but of course he made the comments he made. And that's really how Chappelle opened up, was kind of just like joking on what Kanye said. But I do think it's bigger than that.
Right.
Because, of course, Kanye said it for a reason. I don't think Kanye just says things necessarily to say them. I think he's pretty tactful, especially at this point in his life.
But he also went into Trump. He also went into...
He touched on a bunch of things.
Kyle Irving. He went into Hillary and Trump.
Yeah.
He went into... he honestly covered so much in that 15 minutes.
Yeah, he hit some big topics.
But he also got very conspiratorial, too, with who are the people behind everything.
What are they going to do to hope they let me talk again?
Yeah, I thought that was the most cryptic part of it all. I also think what was really interesting about the whole situation was thinking of him as his astrology. Like, he's a 12th house sun in Virgo. And his comedy stuff and the monologue was top notch. But even the bits that he did with the House of Dragons and the season 2 false premiere, right?
Mm-hmm.
With saying how it just looks weird having blacks in the show, and the way that he showed it off was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
And using some of his old characters from the Dave Chappelle show.
He brought back the Chappelle show characters. He got his crackhead one. And he brought back like the Rick James character.
I know.
He's like the badass knight. Yeah, I mean, it was great that he did that. And making fun of House of Dragons was proper too, because that's the biggest show right now. So I think Dave Chappelle hit on all the biggest things happening right now in like every way, even if they're touchy or conspiracy. But I do get what he's saying with the black people in House of Dragons, and they all have this like really like platinum, kind of white blonde hair. He's like, I don't know where these people are from. Like they're not no black people I've been around, and it makes sense. It is kind of interesting that they shifted that. So to get his perspective and see him joke I thought it was funny, but why not?
I mean, yeah, and that's where it's, I think, kind of getting crazy though now is that, I mean, when you read a lot of this stuff that's going out there right now, that he's making anti-Semitism normalized, and he brought up some interesting stuff. Like he said, you go to Hollywood and there's a lot of Jews. But before that, he read a piece of paper where he said, I'm not anti-Semitic and I appreciate all Jewish people. Right? So
Yep.
he put that out and he said, Kanye, this is all you had to do.
Yeah.
And I want to say that too. We're not anti-Semitic on this show, and
Not at all.
we don't think badly of the Jews at all. Or any people.
No.
I mean, but I thought it was really interesting. He goes, well, you go to Hollywood, there's a lot of Jews. So he's like, people can make up in their head because they're surrounded by it and be that. But then he goes, yeah, there's a lot of black people in Ferguson, and it's not like they're running the place. But that was kind of a weird joke because there is a lot of blacks in Ferguson. That it does feel like it is that way. So it's like he...
I mean, I think he's trying to illuminate that there
Yeah.
is a power, in the area and in Hollywood and in that industry, and it leans on that side. I guess. I don't know. I don't have a lot of ties to that side of the world, so I just kind of go off what these people say. Apparently, they do. What do
you
know?
you didn't get the Ferguson one?
No, I get the Ferguson one.
I mean,
I was going more back to, I guess the topic at hand of being who's in control of Hollywood. Because he said there's a lot of black people in Ferguson, but they don't necessarily run the place. So he's saying that the Jews, of course, run Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying that while at the same time he brought up a lot of other, things that are going on, like Trump and what's going on there. But even before that, here, let's actually look at some of this stuff is wild. Looking at especially NPR, which is National Public Radio, you would think, these are tax dollars that pay for this stuff. And why is it? There we go. Which this kind of blew my mind, right? So it's like Dave Chappelle monologue disappoints, right? No one walks a rhetorical tightrope as deftly as Dave Chappelle. Of course, they're mad that he didn't bring up how the Democrats won the Senate that night. Mm-hmm. It's like, sorry that he's not saying what you want to hear. That's the first thing I got out of this article.
He did say he was a Democrat.
Yeah. Earlier in my career, I learned there are two words you should never say together. And that's what he said. Those words are the and Jews. Never heard someone do good after they say that. But that's interesting that he's saying what he says later on to say that we all think it, but if you say it out loud, you're canceled. And then he also brought up how Adidas was part of the Nazi party and was founded by Nazis and how they got canceled. And he goes, I guess the students surpassed the teacher. So I don't think that people were happy about that because he exposed that, which, of course, a lot of people were unsure about by seeing a lot of that, but it is true. And he said, I've been to Hollywood. It's a lot of Jews. He cracked like a lot. He also joked about the Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie Irving, who was suspended after posting a link to an anti-Semitic film called Hebrew to Negroes, wake up Black America. And this is actually why Kyrie got canceled and is no longer, he's banned from the NBA. And this is where he goes that it's gone too far. That it's got to that point, because he goes, what did blacks have to do with the Holocaust or anything like that? And that's where he got really deep into it. Like he literally was like, that's where his line or boundary line stopped, which I think is quite interesting. He goes, black always was nowhere near the Holocaust, you know?
Right.
I mean, I feel like the stuff that he touched on is super sensitive, but who else is going to say it when you have that? And the only way that he could do it was he had to actually change his monologue in the dress rehearsal, because when it went live, so he already knew it. So that's the only way that you can get around these people, I feel. That's scary. I mean, we'll play the clip in a second, but I want to come back. Like, that's what's scary is, I mean, Kyrie, like, I don't even understand why he got banned from the NBA by a post that he shared. He didn't even put a quote on the post. He just posted the video.
Right.
So it could have been like, maybe he agreed with it or maybe he didn't agree with it. You don't know.
He was already on a super short leash with the NBA. One, because he didn't get the you-know-what in the arm.
I know.
He was against that the entire time. They were hating on him for that. He's done a bunch of things that have gone against the grain of what society expects of people, or these big professional organizations expect of people. And, you know, this was just the one that they could get him for, right?
I know.
So they got him. They're making an example out of anybody, and they're going to try and make an example out of Dave Chappelle, probably, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would expect, but we'll see.
I mean, that's what's kind of the most scariest part, because I resonated with Dave Chappelle's last part of his monologue more than anything. Of course, I resonated with his whole monologue of a very comedic, very satire, but also at the same time, very smart way of getting people to start to see truth, which I resonate with a lot. Maybe that's a 12th house thing. But his last line, which I will play, but I just wanted to make sure that it will play the sound correctly here on NDI2, like, because it's picking up.
I noticed sometimes with that, I think it picks up the mic from the computer.
Yeah, that's what I'm there. Mute mic. Oh, mic mode. Oh, I can go into settings this way and get rid of it. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, man. I just feel like it's so crazy to see well, to me, it's not even the whole media. It's only pretty much NPR, CNN, a couple more liberal mainstream media, and everybody else has kind of backed off of it. But to see CNN do like 4 articles on it today, and it's like they didn't listen to what he had to say. To me, like they wanted to hear what they want to hear. Right. And that's the true test to me, is when you hear what you want to hear from somebody who you can't control somebody, it's like they really want people to be puppets.
100%.
And that's the scariest part.
Yeah, I agree. They just want people to go along with whatever the narrative is. If you go against the narrative, you're not on their team, and they don't like that. And he used that too. He's like, hope they don't. I hope they let me talk again.
Oh, it's so stupid.
He's got a good point.
Oh yeah, here we go. There we go.
I won't say it because we're gonna play the clip, but
yeah, and I was able to fix it to where
part.
we can play it now without.
Awesome.
Yes. All right.
Well, $1.5 billion in a day. $1 $1.5 billion a day. I saw that. I said, put your chain on, nigga. Welcome back. It shouldn't be this scary to talk about anything. It's making my job incredibly difficult. And to be honest with you, I'm getting sick of talking to a crowd like this.
That's the part I want to play one more time. He's getting sick to talking to a crowd like this.
It shouldn't be this scary to talk about anything. It's making my job incredibly difficult. And to be honest with you, I'm getting sick of talking to a crowd like this. I love you to death. And I thank you for your support. And I hope they don't take anything away from me. Whoever they are.
Fucking scary to me as fuck. I relate with this shit so much, what I've seen over the last 2 years in my life. And
yeah, just the fact they said it shouldn't be this scary to talk about anything. I thought that was like one of the best lines he said. It shouldn't be so scary to talk, but everybody has to walk such a fucking thin line right now
in this country. You're allowed to say whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I can understand the freedom of, these big corporations wanting to cancel you because they have the freedom to do that. It's a business.
Right. And they use money as leverage. Right. Like Kanye losing $1 billion.
1.5 billion.
1.5
Remember,
billion
that's a little bit more than a baby B.
Hey, he's gotta wear that chain outside now. Can't tuck his chain.
No, he's still a billionaire.
No, he's
so
still
he
fine.
Yeah, but I think that's what's weird though is like, a lot of people are afraid to talk and say what they really want to say. I mean, like even to me, I think sidestepping the story, something like the UK right now that's doing their vaccine fucking investigations is not being played anywhere in America or being heard, and it's happening in Parliament. It's a full investigation, and they're calling it out. Even in Australia, they won't let people under 30 take a booster anymore because of all the crazy shit. And then the excess deaths is the main concern in the UK in Parliament. They've made it public. They have the public in the parts of Parliament that they're doing these investigations. They're finding ways to talk about informed consent, that it's all incorrect because technically if it was they said it was 95% effective and it was safe and effective, but there's 1 out of 200 people in the UK that had a horrible adverse reaction. And those numbers from their own government say on the yellow card system that it's at least 10 times or more underreported. So that's more like 20 to 40 out of 200 people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not safe and effective on the informed consent. And it goes against everything. And the fact that our election, he's popping up some stuff that's true about the cancel culture. And it's not that he's targeting, that Jewish people are bad people. It's that he's targeting Hollywood, and it just so happens that there happens to be...
He's targeting the powerful people who are holding a manipulative place over people that just happen to be of a certain race, if you will. That's really what it is. It's not about the race, right? It's not about anti-Semitism. It just happens to be that's the group of people that are calling the shots.
Right. Well, and I think he's saying all that because anti-Semitism can go in both ways, right? Like the Jewish people were in a Holocaust, and so then they were given Israel afterwards. And, you say anything that's even close to that, it's anti-Semitism. That's basically like you would be on the side of Adolf Hitler and what he did. But the same goes for the black community that happened to be slaves in America and in Africa and the UK and all these other places around the world. And so when you say certain things about that, it goes to the atrocities that's happened to them. Same thing with Native American Indians. You can go into a lot of it, or hate crimes that have happened to certain groups. I can understand from the LGBTQ plus community or anywhere, right? So it's one of those things to where I don't think he's coming from a place of targeting them in a hate crime way. There's a big difference between a hate crime, because when you're just talking jokingly about things, but also a serious, who's going to have the serious talk when some of these things cross the line? It doesn't matter if a group is been victimized and been treated horribly, 80 years ago. It always is about what people do. It doesn't matter if a person's a good person, like a police officer. If they steal the drugs that they seize and then they cover up a murder of a drug dealer, I don't care if they're a good cop. They're not a good cop, or they're a good person, but they're a bad cop. It doesn't matter. They're a bad cop. And I think that this is where people are getting to, one, I think this is the Aquarius thing, right? It was too tribalistic. And you talk in a certain way about the tribe. But I think it's also the irony of Republicans after this election, right? Election deniers, right? That also that it's the ending of democracy. Yet there are people that don't believe that the 2020 election was legit, that did get elected, and you don't hear them saying anything about that. They're excited as if they've won, right? So it's like, it's very weird that we're in that kind of a place where the tribalism, and Saturn is definitely in the square to Uranus, but also the fact that Saturn's in Aquarius is exposing the most darkest shades of quote unquote tribalism, groups, groupthink. Because the same people who called every person who voted for Trump deplorable, there's no accountability on that side. There's no, and when in the right, or if anybody tries to go against that, or especially on the vaccine thing, I mean, that's the craziest thing to me, is that this is all just as much stuff to get on top of that hole, to cover it, to make it feel like it's not as big of an issue as it really is in many ways, which will be the big shattered reality, I feel.
I completely agree with you. I don't really know where to elaborate with what you said. I'm very much on the same page as you with that. And I do think that that's the negative side that Saturn can bring out in sign. And we're about to see Pluto come into that sign of Aquarius. And, Aquarius can get way too lined up in a line and kind of, it's almost like, it reminds me of a barcode in a way, Aquarius. It's like everybody scan your barcode and form up in this group, and we're all so equal, and we are so equal, and that's a beautiful part about Aquarius, but it's not in the way that they're trying to line us up to be equal. It's about the uniqueness of the person and the individual, and we don't want to forget that part. This is a big time, I think, with Pluto getting ready to come into Aquarius for the next 20 years of our life, that we have to remember Leo. We have to remember our own identity, our own self, the courage it takes to be an individual. Group is great, people are great. Having our groups, having these, things defined is amazing. But when it takes over the identity of every individual, then it's not doing us any good. So I think we have to remember the rebellious nature too, moving forward, and not just the everybody, we can all win. I mean, we can all win if we all step into our individual authority and our uniqueness and embrace that. If we just line up as a barcode for the system, that's not going to work.
No.
That's going to be a fail.
No, and I'm reading some of the comments, and I think some people are definitely right. And even, Dave Chappelle covered it, how Kanye said he's going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews, right?
Yeah, that was a little intense.
But I agree. Like, because especially it's a very interesting way of how he said that, because while at the same time he said that, you have the President of the United States saying that the MAGA Republican Party, which is the majority of the party, which is half the country or more, especially if you just look at the elections, over 5 million people voted Republican out of about 80 to 90 million people who voted, saying that they're dangerous and that they're all insurrectionists and that they want to, that they need to end the government and don't fuck around because we have, he said F-15s, not F-16s, but still. So it's like, okay, you have the President of the United States telling a bunch of people that are citizens, like, hey, don't fuck around. We're the government and we have F-15s. So I thought for some people, because some people don't understand DEF CON, and I thought that I was in the military, so of course we learned this in boot camp and we go over it, but the DEF CON system was developed by the Joint Chiefs of Staff. As a unified and specialized combatant commands, it's prescribed 5 gradual levelness of readiness or states of alert for the U.S. military. It increases in severity from DEF CON 5, which is the least severe, to DEF CON 1, the most severe, to match varying military situations. With DEF CON 1 signaling the outbreak of nuclear warfare, DEF CONs are a subsystem of series of alert conditions, which also include emergency conditions. So if you look, 3 is yellow, right? So, okay, he's putting out like he's about to go DEF CON, so it means that it's about readiness. It's not about what is going to happen. It's the state of preparing for things. Defense, DEF CON, being on defense, not offense. It's not being on offense.
Yeah,
so some people have got that completely misread, right? Because so if we look at DEF CON 3, it's roundhouse. Increase in force readiness above that required for normal readiness. Air Force ready to mobilize in 15 minutes. Now, I think it's very interesting to me because it's him preparing himself because he knows he's about to say things that involve, I think, you could call it coincidence or just the factual truth that majority of the people in entertainment, and Ben Shapiro said this best actually just recently, that there's a proper way of saying it, which would be, because he's Jewish, that a majority of the lawyers and the entertainment agents and the producers and the directors are Jewish. So it's a majority and it's a factual thing. So he was about to go after and say that there was a lot of people in this industry and bring them that fact up. Maybe he didn't need to bring that fact up, but for some reason he felt like he did. But I think it's interesting when at the same time as he's saying that, you have the President of the United States saying against half the majority of the population that he's going to send the don't fuck around because we have F-15s, which I think is more DEF CON 1 as a citizen, right? Where it's like maximum readiness, immediate response, nuclear war is imminent, already has begun, right? Or the fact that they're telling you, be prepared for nuclear war. Like, I would like to know as a citizen where we're actually at militarily with the nuclear threats and so forth.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, they don't tell you that. It's not a public thing. They don't tell the public, we're at DEF CON 1 or 2.
I'm sure most Americans would love any bit of truth about anything that's going on to come out. But we don't get that. Everything's this or that, and it's never what's actually going on. So, we're all kind of, we don't know what the real DEF CON status is for all this stuff, right? Like,
none, never.
Well, we're on a need to know basis as citizens.
Right. So, but I think in Kanye's, maybe, I'm not trying to defend him, I'm trying to maybe help people understand, is especially because it's a military term, and I was in the military, and any United States, service member would know that it's a state of preparedness. It's not an offensive. It's not an offensive. So that the way that he worded it might come across that way, that he's ready to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews. So he's ready to, if you were to be the military and say, we're going DEFCON 3 on Israel, let's say, that means because you feel that Israel is being a threat to you, that we are increasing our defenses to DEFCON 3, which is the roundhouse, which is the exercise term, which is to increase force readiness above that required for normal readiness. So normally you'd be prepared for, if that happens, we've got things. But in that case, he's saying, I'm increasing my readiness for what's going to come after me.
Right. And
so it's actually quite the opposite. I hate to be the bearer of that Gemini's version of, to our people took that the wrong way.
That term comes off very aggressive when it's not.
It comes off when it's not.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's not. It was like David just said, just be more prepared, or to alert people to a higher degree of what's going on, because maybe some people don't know. But I guess the majority would look at, DEFCON 3, like, damn, Kanye's about to drop nukes on the Jews. Like, that's kind of what it appeared to be. But really, I mean, did Kanye say anything crazy other than kind of what we've already talked about?
I mean, there's a lot of different, interviews and the stuff that he definitely said on podcasts following it, and especially on his Instagram, his Twitter, and then of course he went on Tucker Carlson. I mean, he definitely went against Zionism, right? Which that's a term which people don't understand, which is a simple term of understanding that people that are for the state of Israel, for being a state because of the Holocaust, right? Mm-hmm. So, because there were people against it during that time period when Israel became a country. So, you can't deny that there was anti-Semitism in there. So, it's not like he's squeaky clean. He said things that he probably should have thought clear, and maybe gave some more stats instead of kind of rambling about it. Even me right now, I mean, but that's kind of where Dave Chappelle is at too, right? It's like, okay, nobody's taking the time to analyze these things, especially just looking at that NPR article. It's like, he didn't mention anything about how the Senate was just taken over by the Democrats. Or even in this chat, somebody just said, well, Biden was just talking insurrectionists. It's like, no, Biden called out MAGA Republicans. Guess
She's
what?
Kind of grouping into insurrectionists, if you will.
No, the way that it was all phrased was, if you do not vote for a Democrat, that you will lose democracy. Mm-hmm. Because MAGA Republicans, which are the people forget this. This is the people's republic. Mm-hmm. So whether it's J.D. Vance in Ohio or it's Kari Lake in Arizona, you vote for them, you are joining a group of domestic terrorism. Mm-hmm. That's how he worded it. That's how he said it. That's what he said when he was in Philadelphia and he looked like Hitler with the red, and it happened to be on the same Hitler transits.
I know, that was wild.
So the fact that none of that has any accountability, yet I'm not going to say Kanye or even especially Dave Chappelle doesn't deserve any of the crap up against him.
No.
He's got the courage to call this out, that we should be able to say what we want. We shouldn't be a country where, especially, he even says at the end, he doesn't even want to do that anymore to audiences like this anymore, which he's talking about, the mainstream media and the television groups. And that he even talks about the jokes he made about not wanting to have a sneaker company because they'll come and cancel him if he says something wrong, which is what happened to Kanye. Or even Kyrie Irving. They also dropped his shoe, right? So he didn't even say anything. He posted a video. He could have if I were to post a video, you could make it up however you want. If I didn't say it, if I just posted somebody else's video and I didn't put anything to it, there's no way of you saying that's good. Maybe he's saying it's bad. Maybe he's saying it's good. Nobody was willing to ask. They just already threw him out. But when you have a president who's literally calling on, he's the president of all the American people, that's a totally different story. And that's beyond anti-Semitism. That is actual tyranny and authoritarianism. And there's a huge difference.
And they're blanketing it under democracy.
Correct.
That was their whole slogan for the election, was save democracy, vote for the left, which is, here we are in backwards land all over again. It's like we can't get out of it. It's like the upside down in Stranger Things.
I know. Well, somebody in the chat just said, well, you can't say to the Jews DEFCON 3 and expect them to be cool if you're going to run for president in 2024.
I agree.
And I agree. I think, and I'm going to just say this, unfortunately, we live in a country and in a world where people have no idea what that even meant.
True.
I would say that 95% of people had no idea what that meant. They don't even know that it's just increasing your readiness about that's required for normal readiness. That's all it means. It's not a going after. It's a knowing that that entity against the country is coming after you and being prepared. That's what it means. So
I do slightly wonder if Kanye even knew the definition.
Oh, he did. He's a Gemini.
Yeah.
That's why he used it, because it's the only way to describe. It's the only way to describe, and at the level where it actually gives you the definition of what it means. DEFCON 3 is increase your readiness than normal. Mm-hmm. It's where we usually sit at DEFCON 4. Increased intelligence watch and strengthened security measures. That's been where we've been at, DEFCON 4. All the time. We're always at DEFCON 4. Mm-hmm. DEFCON 5 is fade out, lowest state of readiness, normal readiness. We're not there. There's a war in Ukraine. Since 9/11, we have never gone to DEFCON 5. It's in DEFCON 4. So he's using a terminology of increasing from normal stuff. Mm-hmm. The fact that people don't know that, or like the fact that there's people in here who actually think, no, he's just talking to insurrectionists, Biden. It's like, how many insurrectionists? We're talking about maybe 100?
Right.
And most of them were wearing black and disappeared. And we can't see the 6,000 different angles and hours of the tapes that actually show what happened and the timing that Nancy Pelosi will not let the January 6th commission show.
She's really good at hiding video.
She's so good at hiding video, especially with her husband. Like, come on.
She's real good
at hiding video.
You
know, like the way that they come, like the fact that people follow all that is crazy. It's crazy. Like the fact that patriot-loving people that were screaming to the people all dressed in black, just like what happened to Black Lives Matter, all those guys dressed in black who were running around and breaking windows that made Black Lives Matter look bad, did the same thing to Republicans or people who like Trump, who went to the Capitol to support the electoral count, to watch their representatives in the House and the Senate come together and object the votes, which is part of the Constitution, and let the vice president, who's president of the Senate, accept, which is in the law of the Constitution. The fact that people thought that was illegal, or the fact that people like that are on MSNBC or CNN told people that the vice president has no powers was a lie, because now they're trying to get that out of the Constitution. You know, they told that it's like they've been lied to so much that it's somebody who has to be like Dave Chappelle, who has to secretly come up with a different monologue,
right, and
to address these issues.
Blanket it under comedy.
Yeah,
can't just go up there and say his piece. He's got to make jokes about it, which thank God that comedians are doing that, because I think it's powerful. But even just going up there and having the courage to tell some jokes about what he talked about. He couldn't just go up there on stage and, I want to say this, I want to go into this with you all. That's not allowed right now, especially on that.
Yeah. Well, somebody had said too that they were like, I'd probably still vote for Kanye, whatever happened. Or somebody asked what happened to the show on human design. For the 20 millionth time, Dylan is gone.
Dylan's he's across the pond still.
He's going to Egypt.
He's manifesting, generating.
Yeah, he's been out.
Yeah, what are we going to do?
And him and I even said at the beginning of that show, we're both manifesting generators. So whenever the divine time comes for us to respond to do that show, and when we're both in the same city or country, then that show will happen.
Yeah.
And, it's just like, unfortunately, there's just some people not worth debating. And the person knows who they are in this room, who is so MSNBC'd out and gives no facts at all, except the facts that she hears on MSNBC and CNN. So,
I like that people are on to that the two-party system's probably going to
Well, that's
change.
So tonight on Hypergate 2.0 in class 7, because I've been doing prophecy, astrology to prophecy, and I was telling them because I didn't feel good today and I was late to class, and I was teaching perfections I'm in my Venus year, Libra Venus, and how Venus is opposing my moon today. It was square my rising this weekend and my Mercury. Mm-hmm. And then it's been making hard aspects all month with Venus and Scorpio, right? So this has not been an easy time for me, but it's also been good in other areas, right? But anyway, I said, yeah, especially with Venus opposing my moon today. Like I taught them, if you want to understand people better, look up their astrology chart and don't just look at the transits. Look at the perfection year and what planet that is and what aspects that planet is making.
And where that transiting planet is in your chart.
Correct.
That planet in your perfection years takes on a big role, whether it's transit or it's your natal planet or it's the planets hitting that natal planet. That's how Hellenistic astrologers do a lot of predictions.
Right. So I used the example then because I wanted to prove how accurate it is. I said, let's get off me. And I used Trump's chart because I remember October 2nd of 2020, he tested positive for COVID. But that would have happened on the 1st because the tweet was at midnight, like 12:48 a.m. on October 2nd, 2020. And he was in his Venus perfection year, Libra. He's Leo rising like me. And it was at the last degree of his 12th house. Venus was at 28 Leo, going to 29 Leo, but still in the 12th. And then on the first one, or on the second, when he came out with the positive test result, it was right on his ascendant. So he came out with something from his 12th, Venus. And then the 2 days that he went to the hospital, John Hopkins, or not John Hopkins, the one that, I forgot the White House hospital that they use. Anyway, long story short, then he was fine. Like it was in his first house, didn't make any bad aspects anywhere, and he was fine. Mm-hmm. Right? But the days prior to his crossing his rising, he was probably not feeling well and all that shit. And it was at the end of Leo, and so yeah, like in his 12th house, like it was on his Mars, so he probably felt really good, and then it went into his 12th, like
Mars is always the trigger for illness.
Correct.
Me too.
So I used that, and then that's when I went, well, he's having a big announcement tomorrow, right?
Yeah,
so a lot of people
crazy.
are suspecting it's him running for president, and I said, why don't we look at how to do prophecy? And of course, it's 3 hours of how to do it. But I'm predicting at the end of it, using all the techniques I use, that he's going to announce a new party tomorrow. That's going to be the main part, that he's going to leave the Republican Party.
Yeah, you showed me some really cool stuff about how you hypergated that. So
like
pretty dope.
And so a lot of people are expecting just, him to run as a Republican and run for re-election. I don't think that's the main story. The main story is that he's starting a new party. And
Right.
especially and then it was right in the middle of the class when Carrie Lake lost tonight in the Arizona election, and it's done. Like, they have to make the call. And ironically, Hobbs, who won, was the Secretary of State. So she's the one who makes the call to elect herself governor. So she just elected herself governor.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, thinking of Lincoln, who lost in 1858 and comes back, and if Trump is announcing a new party, I wouldn't be surprised that Carrie Lake would be the new party's front runner of 2024.
Mm.
And I have a big question if DeSantis is actually going to be like the Constitutional Union Party that played the middle ground, which were old Republicans or back in the day Whigs trying to keep the Whig Party together and didn't want to get involved with slavery and just, hey, just like, let's all just keep the peace and just be chill.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a weird moment here where he's got to, what Trump's doing is very smart, cornering people. Are you going to go be with the rhinos,
Mm-hmm.
which is the Whig Party basically that's dying, or are you going to go be with this, whatever they're going to call it? That's what I think tomorrow is.
Yeah, and I don't know if maybe not everybody knows what a rhino is, but it's a Republican running in place of. So it's a
Rhino is a Republican in name only.
In name only, sorry, and it's so they're basically Democrat. This happens now with Republicans that run as Democrats. Isn't that what happened with the mayor in L.A.?
Yes, but he would be a dino.
Right. So it's like you take on the name of the party just to get the votes, because some people will just vote for that party anyways without even paying attention.
Yes.
DeSantis is such an interesting thing because he's like this hot subject right now, and Republicans do like DeSantis a lot, and he's done some pretty good things for the state of Florida. But at the same time, the stuff that Trump came out and said about him is very interesting. And the fact that he ran away with Florida so much is interesting too.
Or people forget that he locked Florida down.
He did.
So even though he took them out earlier, the South Dakota governor didn't lock it down. And she won. And she's pretty awesome.
She's badass.
So tomorrow I won't be surprised, especially it's happening at Mar-a-Lago, so it's happening in Palm Beach, right? If Carrie Lake is there tomorrow doing the announcement, or you're going to see who, Matt Gaetz will probably be there. It was also shown that during this weekend with Kevin McCarthy, Matt Gaetz asked him, are you going to try and get other people like Democrats to, support you to be the House Speaker? And he went, no, I would never do that. But he did make a phone call to a Democrat trying to have them change to be a Republican to bring more people on the Republican aisle in the House.
Mm.
There's going to be some crazy ass shit this week because of this. And this is exactly the astrology of 1856 through 58 and the changing of parties.
Right.
And people are forgetting, and I wanted to say this, I haven't been able to say this yet anywhere. Joe Manchin got fucked. He was the one who saved the country from fucking having the Senate get rid of the filibuster, which is 66% of the vote, right? He voted, no, I'm going to stay with the Constitution. We're not going to do this as Democrats. And so did, what's her name from Arizona. But anyway, he went with the fucking stupid ass fucking Inflation Reduction Act and then got promised that they'll be able to drill and keep coal going for his state in West Virginia. The progressives, after he signed it, he went to them, they all denied him and lied to him and said no. So people aren't remembering or bringing him up that he has voted with the Republicans multiple times in the last 2 years. And he's a Democrat. And he just put out a huge fucking blast against Biden, saying, I can't believe this motherfucker, because Biden said the weekend before the midterms, oh yeah, we're getting rid of coal for all coal, right? And oil. And we're going, and we all knew it, so he was lying to everybody. And he was lying on the campaign trail saying, no, I love oil, I love coal, blah, blah, blah. People aren't remembering that he could switch parties.
Right.
And if Herschel Walker wins in Arizona or in Georgia, and if fucking Manchin decides to come over, that's a Republican
Vote.
Senate that actually goes Republican. People aren't thinking about this shit of the changes that are about to happen. That North Node Uranus is still going to have the last laugh.
Right. So even if people thought it was just going to be a red sweeping wave and Republicans were going to take the Senate and the House, well, that didn't pan out. So that already shocked a lot of people.
But it's not over.
Exactly, but it's not over. And now people are kind of thinking, oh, wow, the Democrats could take the House and the Senate at this point. But then
no, tonight it's pretty much.
Did it get locked? Yeah, pretty
tonight,
much.
No, it's like locked. No.
Maybe.
It's locked. It's locked.
Maybe. But anyways, if it didn't,
it's locked. They're 3 seats away.
And then another twist, another turn in this, weird ride in our political realm would be that maybe there's another party. Maybe more people jump and switch sides. Like, it's definitely, nothing's as it seems until it's all said and done. I don't know. I don't trust any of that. But what do you got?
Well, no, I want to continue with what you were saying is, I mean, you have to remember Abraham Lincoln, before he switched to the Republican Party, he was a Whig. And then when the Republican Party started to be talked about and all that, he was like, I don't want to get involved yet. I don't want to do anything. So he was part of the Know Nothings. There was a party of the Whig Party that switched to this, some would call it the American Party, but it was the Know Nothing Party. So when people would ask like what affiliation they were, they would say, I know nothing.
That's the party I'm in.
Right? So it was this in-between party. But finally, after the Kansas-Nebraska Act and Bleeding Kansas happened, that's when Lincoln got pissed because he was out of politics. He used to be in the House, and then he was also a Illinois state legislature. And then he went back to his normal life, and then the slavery thing got really bad in Kansas, Nebraska with that act and Bleeding Kansas that he started to get involved. And by the 1856 election, he finally went over and went, all right, and talked with the Republicans and finally was like, all right, I'm going to do this Republican thing. And it was in 1858 when he ran for Senate in Illinois against Stephen Douglas that in his debates, he laid out the reason why that slavery is not part of the Constitution and that it should be abolished. And he didn't want to be known as an extreme abolitionist, which, think of it today. A MAGA is an extreme American that wants freedom.
Yeah.
And then it was about being on free soil back then, meaning the soil that was free from slavery. This is where you're seeing people move across the country. Same things were happening back then. But you have to remember with Abraham Lincoln, nobody likes to talk in history about his fucking intense Aquarian shit he said in the debates. He would have been an extremist. He was an extremist, an abolitionist. And Stephen Douglas, who was a Northern Democrat, actually was not pro-slavery per se, but he did try to play the more middle ground and tried to play like, hey, vote for me. I'm not that crazy as far as wanting slavery. But lost in 1860 to Lincoln, but won in 1858 because running as a Republican was too extreme. But just within 2 years, same astrology, Republican was no longer extreme. It's what the country wanted. And 4 parties ran in 1860. The Republican, the Northern Democrat, the Southern Democrat, and the Constitutional Unified Party. And it was the Republican Party that won, and the Southern Democrats were in second with the electoral count. So it's not crazy to think that whatever this new party that I'm predicting that Trump is announcing tomorrow will be the party. And I'm not saying that I don't think that Trump's going to be the president of 2024. I mean, I'm not going to make that as my official prediction, but just based off looking at his progressions and stuff, I think he's, especially with looking at his Hellenistic astrology and especially his lot of spirit and where he's at, he'll be going into a peak period, which will be Taurus. He has an Aquarius part of fortune. So he's in a fourth house peak period, which is opposite of the 10th. And I would say that he would be much more of like a parental figure of this new party than the president. But when you think of Carrie Lake, who happens to be a Virgo, a lot like Dave Chappelle, it's almost like, you see these figures, these Virgos with especially Regulus now being a Virgo, or DeSantis who's a Virgo, right? So if you actually kind of take the whole thing in, it's like the people who are spitting the truth right now are the Virgos.
True.
Right?
Well, they're getting, Virgo got aspected in a really unique way by both Pluto and Uranus and even Neptune. Virgo's kind of a sweet spot that we don't talk about in astrology much, with Neptune in opposition and the trines from Uranus and Pluto over the last, especially the last 3 years here. It's like been pretty intense. There's definitely something that clicked with Virgo, probably that, kind of went under the radar more than people want to realize, but there was definitely something coming up from deeper within their soul. There was something about spiritually getting the message, and then also the changes that had to be made to get the message out and to maybe even use the throat even more with Uranus and Taurus, because you're seeing Virgos have that shock factor, which I think too could be about their beliefs with Uranus in the 9th. Like they're starting to really come out and I know, like I got the download and I'm going to tell it how it is, and I'm not going to just sit back and let these things go anymore.
Right.
So it is interesting you bring up the Virgos, because I think, I guess I haven't heard anybody really talk about it much, but it's interesting the way that Virgo has been aspected, especially over the last, I'll say 4 years, but really, the last 10 years, if you will.
What's really weird, though, about this Virgo transit, which I would say is different than Lincoln, who was an Aquarius, is with Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces, it's the 7th house for Virgos. So it's like, it's through the people and the relationships that they're using the truth with. Carrie Lake uses Trump. DeSantis used Trump to win the governor of 2018 election by having his kid wear a MAGA hat and have a book about Trump building a wall.
Right.
People forget that, right? So do we really think that DeSantis can do it on his own by abandoning Trump supporters and Trump people? No. Or Carrie Lake? No. Or even Dave Chappelle, who brought up Trump again, or his buddy Kanye, or the buddies that are on the podcast that Kanye was on. There's this whole 7th house connection with the Virgo thing that's going on. Whereas in Aquarius, it was, Abe was trying to play, I'm unsure. Like every Aquarius right now, kind of like, I don't know if I should get involved emotionally with all these things and stuff, right? And so when Uranus was in Taurus, that's what Abe was doing. But when Uranus was in Gemini, he was like, oh, okay, I'm fucking passionate about this shit. You know what I mean? And so it's interesting to see the flip, especially because, we're in the same transit of the 1856 election. And I hate to say it, but, Biden is exactly like Buchanan. Like, let's throw up a guy who used to be in politics, who can be the normal fucking solution to bury the fucking weird shit that's been happening in the country, like election fraud and stuff like that.
Never happened before.
Never happened before, but it did. So, the more that I just keep digging into the history, plus the Pluto return of the country.
That third banger.
It's what people are seeing right now in the illusion of a South Node Sun transit is they think that this is what the game is going to look like,
right? Which
it is not.
I completely agree with you.
It is not.
Everything from the moment there was any kind of voting going on or anything with the system, it's like, oh yeah, the South Node in Scorpio with Pluto finishing in Capricorn on the United States Pluto. Like with Uranus and Taurus, you really think? Did you really think you were going to get, I don't know, something of integrity, something of what the Constitution was built on, but nobody knows what's going to happen. It's going to split some way. It's going to shake things up. Things are just starting to get interesting. I think that's one of like the cool things about it is we're going to witness a repetition of patterns that have happened in the past, but in a completely different way that I think, you know, even like you and I, we're still going to sit back here and be like, what?
Right.
Damn. You know?
Well, I mean, and then there's the whole like, whether it's patterns through astrology or patterns just that are weird from 2020. Congratulations to the Senate Democrats for suddenly pulling ahead and winning surprise victories by the perfect margins 4 days after the poll closed in the dead of night, only in states with mail-in voting for the second time in a row. We'd never seen anything like it in 244 years.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, and, you know, she's a libertarian, this woman. So she's not on either side. But anybody, I mean, even the same fucking states that were fucking in 2020's election did the same thing, and we're having a runoff in Georgia again, which I told people, and I did that video, I was like, you know, 2020 and 2022, there's no gap. I've been saying that about other things too. Like there's a common play happening on all things right now. And so we're in the biggest illusion ever of thinking this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And like, even the way that, like, we're seeing, like, I have to use this as an example because I just, right before we did the show, when I went on CNN, I went, okay, this is a little weird, right? So, I'm somebody who like reads between all these lines, right? So it's like, okay, Hobbes defeats, but it's like Trump is everywhere. Trump's potential bid gets harsh reaction among Hill Republicans. That's because he's going to announce a new party. Do you think he gives a fuck? Right? Like, right? So, and every little thing I read, well, they might have just changed it, but it was just Trump, 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 Trump this, Trump that, Trump, 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 Trump. So, you know, and see, it's like how 2020 election deniers did, right? It's like election deniers. They're not denying elections. They're questioning elections, and it never got its full due diligence on January 6th, which is the way the Constitution is supposed to work. We didn't get to hear from the full Arizona. We didn't get to hear from the other states. They're in the Electoral Count, so they're not election deniers.
Questioners.
They're election questioners, which is allowed. But it's really crazy to see. I mean, just look at that fucking map. If that doesn't tell you, like, that's the illusion that the South Node Scorpio is. It feels so blue, yet it really is red. And that's the kind of energy that we started to see in 1856's election and 1858's midterms with Jupiter, Neptune, with these crazy transits that we're seeing right now, that brought on a civil war. Was what was in control. Like, what? Look at this. This is weird. So if you do the 1858 midterm election results, and this is remember, with Neptune at the same exact position that it is today. Okay? The House, the Republicans gained control of the House. They gained control. The Democrats held the Senate. And the incumbent president was James Buchanan, who is the one that causes a civil war.
Yeah, seems pretty
I don't know
on.
you know what I'm talking about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking like, okay, it's a little crazy, right? And look at how it's Pennsylvania where the gain was. Right?
Yeah, I mean, Pennsylvania is an interesting one. That's such a question mark. I mean, just having Fetterman win the Senate seat there is a very questionable thing.
Look at how it's Georgia, where it's a 1-2 Democratic gain, and Michigan, and then Missouri, which Missouri is actually the one that caused the whole Kansas-Nebraska act, and were the border ruffians that did the fake election in the Kansas territory.
It was still more evened out back then.
Well, it was,
technically
technically a territory. It still wasn't a state.
Oh, Kansas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kansas, Nebraska, that was technically, kind of weird because that's Wisconsin, right? So, like, there's that Kansas, Nebraska that are trying to form their own thing, and in between is Missouri, which they were double voting in both states from Missouri to make them slave states, because they were trying to build these were all slave states, and they were using Missouri as the launch pad to create that double voting and killing people and causing scared energy in order to force people to accept the double voting and look the other way. Right?
Very interesting.
Right? In the House, Democrats suffered a major defeat, losing seats to Republicans and a group of Southern Party members who opposed secession, running on the opposition party ticket. Although no party won a majority, Republicans won a plurality of seats. Republican William Pennington won election as Speaker of the House, becoming the first Republican Speaker. So I'm wondering if maybe Kevin McCarthy is not going to become the Speaker, and if they're changing parties tomorrow, which is a prediction of mine, might come not true. But if I were to predict as an astrologer, Trump's going to change parties. A bunch of Republicans are going to change to that party. They have not called who, and the reason why Trump's doing it on Tuesday is because this is when in the House they're going to start deciding who's going to be the party leader. That if you actually get this new party and you get a bunch of them, then that gets Kevin McCarthy to be like, you joining this motherfucking party or not? And if you want to be Speaker of the House, you join this party. If he doesn't, or if he does, he's still the Speaker of the House, but he's of a new party.
How fast can a new party...
Think about that shit.
I'm genuinely curious. I have no idea. How fast can a new party just kind of come into manifestation in our government? It's still... Because, again, we haven't seen it in so long. Like, how... Like, if Trump came out and declared that,
there's been other new parties. There's been, like Ross Perot. And,
sure, and, like, Libertarian, and Green Party. But, like, genuinely curious, in your opinion, like, if Trump did declare that, when do you think we would see it start...
Instantly. That's why he's doing it on tomorrow.
Really?
That's my prediction. Because what if he calls it MAGA, which I don't think I think he's going to call it like America First.
The America First Party?
Personally, based off his inauguration speech, the institution of America First, that's what he said. He goes, from now on, we all bleed the same color red as patriots, no matter what race, religion, or creed that we are. And from now on, it's going to be America First. America First. And then America First is the institute that's for free speech that he did about social media, that he's suing the social media companies for. And I think that the MAGA name, Make America Great Again is not Trump's. That was Reagan's slogan. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And for people who don't believe me, fucking, right? It's like, Reagan, make America great again. Images. All right, here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Here's some facts for you.
Oh, nice.
Let's make America great again. Reagan 80.
Of course, it was on a Jupiter-Saturn year.
Oh. Trump and Reagan. Oh.
Interesting.
Reagan for president. Let's make America great again.
So Trump just took the "let's" out.
Correct, but it's the same slogan.
Yeah,
and there
same
was a
thing.
speech, "Make America Great Again," Reagan ending, "Make America Great Again," right? Like the fact that Biden and the liberals are also pouncing on Reagan's legacy too. I hope Trump tomorrow, if he is going to change parties or if he does make America great again, that he gives Reagan credit for being one of the best presidents we've ever had and for maintaining the patriotism after a disastrous, Gerald Ford he was a bad Republican, but like thinking of Jimmy Carter, like just the 70s and the Vietnam War, and especially, JFK was a great president, but after that, after he got assassinated, like Johnson and Ford and Nixon, all that. Nixon was not bad, but he did do some fucked up shit.
Right.
So, but that's the thing, is people have no idea that it's Reagan. Right? So, let's make America great again. I don't know what to tell people. Right? Like, it's not a new thing. Right? Trump stole Reagan's strategy. We have already implemented the 64 of our top agenda items. This is ahead of anybody, including Ronald Reagan. So a new party, to answer your question, can happen extremely fast. Take, for example, like if you think about the Republican Party, it took a minute, but people started saying they were Republican and winning Senate seats and House seats in the 1856 election. In Kansas, Nebraska in 1854, there were people running for Republicans then. Lincoln is the first significant one who was the loser as a Republican. The only one who lost in 1858. So if I go back to that 1858 election, this will blow your mind. And that's why I'm thinking that Carrie Lake, even though she's not a senator, I'm taking because it's how you make your mark on the country by the things that you say. And she made the biggest mark, right? So watch this. Okay. And I'll zoom in. Okay. These are the candidates in the states, right? So it's like Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. This is who he ran against, Stephen A. Douglas, who then he ran up against for president and beat him in 1860. But this is 1858. Look at this. Abraham Lincoln lost, Republican, 46. And he had more votes. But back then they were still doing delegates for the electoral count. And so the delegates went to Douglas.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so he had 46 and Douglas had 54. Okay, every other Republican won. Every Republican won back then. The only one to lose, but also was the most extreme, was Abraham Lincoln. Right? Okay, he lost. And the incumbent was reelected and he lost. Then when he came back in the 1860, right? So if you go to Abraham Lincoln then, and then you go to the 1860 election, which, right? So like when his politics from 1854 to 1860 is when he changed over. So when the debate over the status of slavery in the territories failed to alleviate tensions between the slaveholding South and the free North, with the failure of the Compromise of 1850, a legislative pact designed to designate the issue, which of course was the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which did not work out. And in 1854, Lincoln declared his opposition to slavery, and he also repeated en route to the presidency. He said the Kansas Act declared indifference, but as I must think, a covert real zeal for the spread of slavery. I cannot but hate it. I hate it because of its monstrous injustice of slavery itself. I hate it because it deprives a Republican example of its just influence in the world. So he's using the term Republican and it's Republic, but he doesn't do it. So nationally, the Whigs were split by that Kansas-Nebraska Act and on the slavery issue, reflecting on the demise of the party. Lincoln wrote in 1855, I think I am a Whig, but others say there are no Whigs and that I am an abolitionist. I do more than oppose the extension of slavery. The new Republican Party was formed for a Northern party dedicated to anti-slavery, drawing from the anti-slavery wing of the Whig Party, which is what he was, and combining the Free Soil Liberty and anti-slavery Democratic Party members. So there were members that were Democrats that wanted free soil and liberty, and it combined them, and they left the Democratic Party. Lincoln resisted early Republican entreaties, fearing that the new party would become a platform for extreme abolitionists. Mm-hmm. Lincoln held out hope for rejuvenating the Whigs. That sounds like fucking Trump. He never really liked the Republican Party, but he fucking tried, and he was like, I'm going to try and rejuvenate it, though he laminated his party's growing closeness with the nativist Know-Nothing movement, which is known as the Native American Party. Prior to 1855 and thereafter, it was simply known as the American Party, right? He then had to make the choice and be an extremist, because an extremist for freedom is not a bad thing.
Maybe he'll bring back the American Party.
I mean, that's where I'm kind of tripping, right? So in 1854, Lincoln was elected to the Illinois legislature, but declined to take his seat. The year's election showed that the strong opposition to the Kansas-Nebraska Act and the aftermath, Lincoln sought election to the United States Senate, which he lost. After leading the first 6 rounds of voting, he was unable to obtain a majority. Lincoln instructed his backers to vote for the Lyman Trimble. Trimble was an anti-slavery Democrat and had received few votes in earlier ballots. His supporters, also anti-slavery Democrats, had vowed to not support any Whig. Lincoln's decision to withdraw enabled his Whig supporters and Trimble's anti-slavery Democrats to combine and defeat the mainstream Democratic candidate at the time. So he doesn't step into it until the 1856 campaign, when he goes to the RNC. And though Lincoln received support to run as vice president, Lincoln supported through Illinois. The Democrat nominated the Secretary of State, James Buchanan, and the Know-Nothings nominated former Whig Fillmore, and that was a horrible race. Buchanan won. But remember, that was where we had an incumbent president, Pierce, who didn't get to run. They kicked him out because of all the crazy illegal voting and the deaths and all that shit. And they wanted a Democrat that wouldn't represent that anymore because he was gone. So Buchanan prevailed, while Republican William Henry Bissell won election as governor of Illinois, and Lincoln became a leading Republican in Illinois. And so it's the Lincoln and Douglas debates and his Cooper Union speech, which is known around the world, and it's been used in theater. It's very famous, and this is where I did the astrology today of these debates and how they're the exact same Neptune position as where we're at now, and it's when he lost, right? And he's the only Republican in the Senate that lost, whereas there is only one Republican who lost in the governor's race, right? So if we look at this and then we go to governor, the only flip of a state, right, is Arizona flipped to Democrat. And in Nevada, it flipped Republican. So the only Republican governor to lose that got a message out that many people heard by themselves was Carrie Lake. That's how my prediction is that she will go forward, and maybe with Ron DeSantis. And Trump will be, if Ron DeSantis, you'll know Ron DeSantis, I mean, he's been exposed being part of secret societies from school. That just got released this week. There's a lot of weird things with him, but
a lot of it just keeps coming out.
It just keeps coming out. So it's like, is he with the Paul Ryans? That was the other thing too, is in the election of Lincoln in 1858, one of his own party members endorsed Douglas, and he lost. And that's exactly what Paul Ryan just did about Trump. We need to get Trump out 3 weeks ago. He's bad for the party, blah, blah, blah. And anybody who's associated with Trump and all that. And that was the Speaker of the fucking House. So when I'm looking at all this, I'm going, it's all playing the same way. It's all playing the same way with like a little minor difference. It's governor in this case, but there is no senator that really is a powerful voice of the Republican Party that's lost, right? So, or made a mark, or in this case, Carrie Lake couldn't do a debate because Hobbs wanted to sit in her fucking house with her mask on.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Think about that.
Have you looked at Carrie Lake's chart?
Yeah, I did him on Full Disclosure on High Vibe. If people want,
that's right.
If people want to see me go deep into Carrie Lake's chart and into Hobbs's chart and their progressions and everything, it's on High Vibe. Be a member.
That's right. I remember now.
On Full Disclosure with Natalie.
Good,
and our new app is out on Android right now, but on iPhone it's coming out this week or next week. It's finalizing in Apple, but Android just came out.
Yeah, and everybody that has an Android that's been on the app absolutely loves it. I'm jealous. I only have an iPhone, but I want to see. It's cool that you can post to the community. It's like a legit social media app now. You get like alerts
with video, live,
with the lives, live chat in the video. It's so sick. So pumped on that. I can't wait to get it on my phone.
It's taken me over a year and a half to get it to that.
Good job.
And it's taken me since the beginning of the Leo King app in 2014 with that vision, 8 years. So this Venus Capricorn retrograde cycle has literally, sometimes it takes 8 years in life to get where you want to go with your dreams.
Saturn square and a fucking Venus retrograde, right?
Oh yeah. It takes a long time to build a spiritual, like Gaia doesn't have live chat in live video format with your own community where you can post yourself and comment and get notified too. Notifications when you get replied to, block people if you don't like them and what they say, do all that stuff. But freedom of speech, full free, you post picture, you write whatever you want. It's seen in the community section. Other people comment, all of it.
Yeah, it's so cool.
All in the app while watching the live shows and commenting live or watching all the daily videos or stuff and commenting. And it's all right there. And it's so... Searching for any video you want, any subject, any author, all in one platform and on the websites, and they interlink on your Apple TV to your Roku to all of it. That's taken me 8 years.
Congratulations.
And to have it all here at a studio.
Yeah, it's so cool. I'm pumped for you.
Oh, thanks. I'm pumped
for High Vibe and the community because I think that it just brings everybody together in an even better way. Because, it's cool that we could go on the website and do the community, but, that's not really where it's at. It's on the phone. People want the social media on the phone, with their fingertips, and it's there.
Well, and a place for spiritual people to be able to post
anything they want.
And not have all the crazy censors
from High
like
Vibe.
The Pope now coming out against.
You can censor somebody if you choose to. If you don't like what somebody says, you can block them. You have the right to do that. But nobody here is going to say...
Unless you're doing violence or...
There's a line.
There's always a line.
Yeah, but just in terms of information and presenting what you want to say.
Yeah.
It's the only place that'll let you do all of that without any.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, and I think getting the app to that place while also having the studios and the event space and all the different spaces here, if I think of the whole thing, it's like, this is my great gamble. You know, because the environment right now in South Node Scorpio doesn't look like it's going to pay off. Like, you can't advertise on Facebook and Instagram off astrology anymore.
Yeah.
You can't, right? Like, you can't, right? There's censorship. The Pope has now come after us astrologers.
That was wild.
And if you're a palmistry person out there, the Pope just came after you yesterday. So, you know, like and combining that astrology and palmistry is combined and connected with conspiratorial and conspiracy people.
Mm-hmm.
The Pope. So, you know, it looks scary, but at the same time, you can't be afraid.
No.
Or anybody who thinks they're extremists for freedom based off the history and the astrology is
Actually,
the right side of the fence to be on.
Might not look like it in the moment.
Might not look like it in the moment. And everybody who played the central, I just want to keep it neutral and play normal, was the constitutional unifying party, which were Republicans who were afraid to be Republicans, Democrats afraid to be Democrats, and they lost horribly in 1860. And most people don't even know that was a party.
Nope.
And they were neutral on slavery.
Neutral.
So it would be like neutral on the shot. Like, yeah, if you got it, if you don't have it.
That's very Neptune and Pisces.
Right?
Just everything.
Yeah, everything's fine.
It's
Don't
okay.
worry about it. It's okay.
I'm just here.
All these people dying. All these people, like all these poor kids that'll never have a normal life. And most people, after 5 to 7 years of myocarditis, go out. Like, that's what they don't tell people. They think, oh, it's a lifelong condition. No. It's a condition that lasts 5 to 7 years and you're gone.
And now you have physicians and doctors in Europe saying, please do not vaccinate your child.
I know.
Thank
and they're
God.
not showing it in America, and they just keep making Americans scared right now. And that's where, did a lot of people vote blue? Probably.
Yeah.
Like, did a lot of people vote red? Well, we know for sure they did more.
Right. No, I'm not saying that
So
side didn't get
I know. I'm just trying to say that, like, is there questions to the elections? There are when it passes the date and you're counting votes way ahead. We've never done that in history, even with mail-in voting.
Right.
Or in California, mailing everybody a fucking ballot.
Yeah.
Right?
I like what Florida did. Had everybody get the ballots in a week ahead of time.
And that you have to show ID.
That's good.
That's the way it should be. But
Right.
they try to say that that's taking minorities, that they have trouble getting IDs. I'm like, well,
you're not
how?
supposed to vote
You
unless you're a
can't.
citizen.
But I'm saying, like, you can't even go to a bar
Right.
without an ID. You can't even buy.
bond.
You can't even fucking go to the DMV, or you can't even get welfare without some sort of identification. You can't go. So the idea that you are suppressing people's votes without an ID is crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's a lot of crazy out there.
And in California, allowing, if you don't sign correctly and it's not a matched signature, that you could say, oh, wait, hold on, let me get another shot. Like, your signature is your signature.
Yeah.
So if you were doing a bunch of ballot harvesting, then you could just be like, oh, yeah, let me relook at that one again. Hold on, yeah, let me.
Damn.
Right?
Well, wouldn't surprise
But anyways,
me.
the high vibe, that's the cool thing. That's honestly, for me, been a huge fucking miracle.
Yeah, I'm stoked
And
for you and the company, and I think that's a huge step. People are gonna love it.
yeah, I mean, I'm betting on a horse that everybody thinks won't make it. I have a lot. As Pluto's starting to oppose my sun, I'm like seeing how many people don't want me to succeed. And it's like, oh, okay. Whether it is the Pope or whether it is crazy people online or
Yeah, but just how many people it shows you don't want to see you succeed, it's also going to show you how many people do want to see you succeed.
Right. If I would have done it about the Leo King app, I wouldn't have succeeded. I made High Vibe a brand to where everybody can come on and use the studios that have that other people. Like if people only knew, like, to try and go do it yourself, or even myself to do it myself, it's not, you can't do it at this level alone.
No.
It's kind of how in politics, right? Like all these parties are formed in order to create a way to help each other out and make a party that represent, and I'm not trying to say people have to represent themselves by High Vibe, but at least it's a place where it can be monetized, have events, live streams, and everybody gets half of the subscription if you join High Vibe as a person who's bringing it as a talent, to where I make it to where it's like you get half of what, and if your person buys one of my things, you get half of that, and vice versa. But too many people in the spiritual community have too many egos and they want it to be their only thing. And I tell them not, that they don't have to stop that.
There's definitely no other, whether you call it a TV network or whatever, you know, you're looking at that's supplying content and having people on. There is no other place that's splitting it 50-50 with the content creators.
But they don't have to pay for the studio.
Exactly.
You know, the app itself is over $5,000 to $6,000 a month alone.
I know. That's not even the big bill.
It's not even the big bill. So, you know.
It's a lot.
I'm gambling on everything. And I went, well, I just got to trust after all these years. When it looks like it's not going to happen, know that there's a break in the clouds. And that's what I know will be there, especially with, I think they teed up the Pope to combine conspiracy with astrology, like I predicted.
So. I mean, you look at the social medias,
yeah,
restricting the ads.
They're not.
They don't
like
want
what are all these tarot readers going to do in a year? What are all these astrologers that have made their livings on YouTube going to do?
Right.
Where are they going to go? Like,
hopefully here.
And how are you going to bring a bunch of people over that you can't advertise when I already advertised to the max for the astrology and social media when it was allowed for all those years, that I have all the contacts and I have all the people and people that have been through the system and built the system, that, you know, it's like, while making it to where it's not, you're not paying the cost, you know, you're just reaping the rewards. It's like, that's a fucking Lightworker thing, but you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the big thing for me. And I think that's actually what Dave Chappelle just did. I know we said we would look at his chart, which I think is...
He's a fascinating guy.
Yeah, so I was going to show the astro just to confirm to people, and then we can go into you.
He's got the AA.
That he's got a AA Ron rating here, so this means that this is officially his birth time. It is correct. That has been... Astro Dionist actually knows that for sure and has confirmed it. And so he is a Sun, Virgo rising, Moon in Cancer in his 10th. And let's take a look at it from your point of view.
Oh. Yeah, from Astro Gold. So, pretty, interesting. I just saw his chart for the first time today. I think you did too, right? We just... Today, before the show, we're like...
Oh, yeah, I had never seen it before.
Yeah, me neither. So I was pretty fascinated to see, that 27-degree Virgo rising with Pluto on the ascendant, but with Pluto trine the ascendant, and as a Sun Regulus. Like, it's no wonder this guy kind of always seems to get magnified. Like, especially Sun Regulus, even though it's Virgo, but Regulus is moving closer to his Sun every day, even though it's a little bit. It's always moving towards his Sun more. So he's always kind of like becoming more, regal in a sense and getting more of that notoriety. And I think it's interesting that he's a 12th house Sun. It's very similar to you, right? Late degree rising with that early Sun. He's also got like 3 yods in his chart, which I thought is interesting because someone else does too.
Yeah, I mean, I relate because the sun and the 12th with the same rising. I've always said, like, they're spiritual people who are definitely going to use their energy because their soul and their identity they're unfiltered. He's not questioning who he is. He knows exactly what he is, who he is, what his soul is, what his identity is. And it's a very rare position. And, you know, when I was looking at his stuff, I couldn't believe when I saw this in his chart. When I went into, and I'm going to pull us away because I can't move us on here, but when I went into his progressions, that he's a sun progressed Libra at 19, about to conjunct his natal Uranus. He is finishing a progressed full moon that he had this year when he brought out his specials that were so intense. And now his progressed moon has just moved into the 8th house. It's in Aries and it's heading towards his Mars, while his progressed sun's heading towards his Uranus. And that his Jupiter went direct when he was 35 years old, but his Mars went stationary retrograde, progressed when he was 25 into 26, that's when his progressed sun crossed his ascendant. So I went through that in my life. I got my big TV stuff when my progressed sun crossed my ascendant. He did too. But I feel like with Pluto trining his ascendant, but with Neptune getting ready to oppose it, he's going to have to build some new allies, while at the same time, he's about to show us the wild side we haven't fully seen yet. We haven't seen it yet.
Right. And he's about to come into his Chiron return. I think that was the most interesting transit he had, was his Chiron, real balsamic to his natal one. But really, it was in his progressions, like you said, that was like, oh, that's where things are really hitting, with that progressed moon getting squared by Pluto.
And his progressed sun's going to oppose Chiron too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there's definitely relationship shit about to go down in this chart too.
Yeah, Jupiter's going to station on his descendant.
Something up with his relationship, who she remains, they keep it very private.
Also, Neptune is going to finally, for the final time, cross over his vertex.
Yeah. Well, and this Mars retrograde at the same time too is going to stop at 8. So it's kind of weird that it doesn't really hit a lot of his shit exact. Like his Pluto is at 6 Libra. It doesn't trine that. He doesn't have the square to any. He's only got the sun and ascendant in Virgo.
I mean, it did station conjunct his midheaven in his 9th house, but conjunct the midheaven, but also his progressed vertex happens to be in this Mars retrograde.
Right.
So he is in a very interesting vertex situation.
What's also interesting is looking at the transits that Saturn is opposing his Mercury, right? So it might come back. He's definitely going to get some sort of backlash probably in the next couple months about this, because he's probably going to do something else. He's going to respond in another way.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised, especially with his progressed moon now being in Aries in the 8th house, that he's already been working on something else.
Yeah, I bet something real creative. Probably maybe another special's coming out.
Yeah.
Something to do.
I didn't even look at his perfections, and you did. Where's he at right now?
I was just about to pull that up when you.
He's in his Venus Libra, like me. So this is interesting, and he's in Jupiter. Okay, month. So he did this with Venus Jupiter. That's not a bad time to do it. And I just want to see if he's about to go through. He had his loosening of the bond in 2017, like Trump. I'm gonna have that same loosening of the bond. That means, yeah, that's kind of interesting. Where's he at with Law of Fortune? He is. What happened? Wow, he had his loosening of the bond in 2009. That was I think when all his contracts, and he kind of went missing after 2006 and 7, and he kind of he changed his life and just kind of went out Pisces style, Pisces loosening the bond.
He went to Africa for a while, didn't he?
At 36, when his Mars stationed retrograde at 25. Oh, it was his Jupiter that stationed direct at 35. And that's where he kind of started to shift his belief systems in Aquarius. And he started actually making jokes when he came back out about Obama being like, yeah, I thought you were going to be the black guy that was going to change it all, and you didn't do shit. Right? So, and also just looking at old school, his Fedaria, he's in Saturn Mercury. So he's definitely, when he's saying he's scared to talk,
Yeah.
talk about being scared to talk. Especially when he has Mercury in Leo.
In February, his lifetime arc conjuncted his Mars.
Oh, here, we'll go to you, yeah. Wow.
It's a big year.
That's one of the biggest years. I mean, go up.
Oh, yeah, he hasn't had one of these since
He hasn't had
2017. But after this, what's interesting is there's nothing.
Yeah, but a planet conjunction, like,
That's the big one. Yeah.
that's the big one for him.
I mean, it was Taurus. It moved into Taurus in December 2017, but it conjuncted his 8th house cusp. The last planet it conjuncted.
And in 3 months, his progressed moon comes into Taurus.
Was
So it's
Chiron
going
in
to activate
2010.
all that shit. Yeah, he
when
hasn't.
he did all that healing.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So now he's in Mars. It's almost like now he's becoming more of a warrior. And his Mars is
Well, January, when
Retrograde
his
now.
progressed moon's going to come into Taurus, and that progressed moon over the months is going to get close to meeting up with his solar arc too. That's going to be interesting. But he's going to have the opposition to his Fortuna in his lifetime arc.
that progressed moon might save him when it comes into Taurus too. It's a nice place to have your progressed moon. So even though it's going through a lot with a square to Pluto right now, and he is feeling every bit of the intensity, most likely, it's going to get a little bit better as time goes on. I feel like Dave Chappelle's he's probably going to drop something really creative.
And then go back to his house in his private life, North Node in the 4th.
Right.
And then South Node.
Right.
It's like his past life, he's been hung or definitely been dealing with public bullshit.
South
in
Node
many past
Saturn in the
lives.
10th house.
Yeah, that's a very tough
definitely.
position. It's like he gets there, he does what he has to say, and then he retreats home. And
Well, he's a polarizing dude. I mean, having Pluto rising
with
conjunct the
Uranus
ascendant,
and yeah, I know.
and Uranus in the first, and even Venus there, like
Then Uranus opposed Chiron.
he's a polarizing dude. He's very magnetic. He gets people in, and I think it's because of the emotion that he does bring. To
And
what
he's
he
got
does.
Sun Saturn sextile with the yod to Jupiter.
Yeah, he's got a yod to his Saturn from Neptune Jupiter. He's got a yod to his Mars from Neptune Pluto. He's got another one in here too from like Saturn South Node Mars to Neptune. He's yachted up in there.
Yeah, they're all not
They're
within
not
a degree.
exact, but they're there.
I know. So he's a loose yod. I would call it a yah.
A yah. Check out his lunar return, which he had his
Or
lunar
yay.
return on Saturday for
I
the
know.
SNL.
And it was in the 12th with Mars retrograde.
Yeah. Chiron intercepted in the 10th. Jupiter up there, so he got a
Well, he
ton.
definitely surprised the world, North Node
Yeah.
Uranus, and he did the 5th house thing extremely well.
And he repulsed a lot of people too in a lot of ways. With
And
all
he's
the
kind of lucky
negativity with
that
Pluto.
that Aries and Libra were intercepted for Mars to be,
in the
retrograde in the 12th
Hidden.
with an intercepted Aries
Yeah.
position. I would say that's kind of a lifesaver in many ways. But it is Mars square Neptune in the 9th to the 12th. So it's, I think he's not going to be able to get over this at all. That's going to be the issue.
Saturn in the 8th. That's hard.
Yeah, and Pluto in the 7th. This could be where the relationship thing is starting to go weird for him in his life, with Neptune approaching his 7th house cusp and Jupiter being there. Seems good, but this could be to where his wife starts to feel unsafe, and
Right.
and he stops feeling support there, and that's really what triggers him in his chart, is with North Node being in his 4th, and he's got Moon and Saturn in Cancer and South Node in Cancer. You know.
And even with the vertex stuff that I mentioned earlier, the vertex it always seems to be a person. It's always like another person that triggers this sort of vertex
and events,
time.
that come in and out.
So,
but they're usually based off people.
5th house Sun with the South Node, like his romantic life.
Well, especially being a Virgo with Jupiter and Neptune retrograde right now in Pisces. I mean,
fuck.
A double Virgo,
Totally.
like that. And then looking at his chart ahead with the progressed Moon going into the 8th and Aries to Taurus, and his solar or his lifetime marks are in Taurus on his Mars that he's had this year, and his Mars is stationary retrograde, and he's definitely actually here. Let me I want to see something. I want to look at his solar arcs. There's the Moon on his Sun. Once in his life, about to show up. We're about to see his truest form.
In the 12th.
Pluto at 21 is squaring his Mercury.
Saturn's gonna
Damn.
be approaching his North Node.
Yeah. That Pluto, though, squares Mercury.
And
this is just beginning. It just came
Juno,
in.
his
The
solar
24.
Juno conjunct Pluto.
Right. Yeah, and his solar arc Uranus is conjuncting his natal Juno.
Damn.
It doesn't matter if it's a year, a click before or a click after.
What's very interesting is that even when we just started talking about this before the show and kind of thinking, oh, maybe we'll talk about Dave Chappelle on the show, a picture of his wife just randomly popped up. And we're like, oh yeah, his wife.
We looked into that.
We looked at that and we were like, wow,
Something's odd.
never see her. Don't see her very much.
Maybe she's an install. That would be a very South Node Cancer, Saturn, Moon, where he thinks that's his place in the North Node Capricorn in the 4th. I've got it all. It's all under control. My home life, my family life. It's all good in Ohio and
And it's all going to get...
Or something happens to his wife because some crazy fucking liberal that's not happy on NPR sees her in Ohio and fucking goes to interview her and causes a ruckus that makes her feel unsafe.
Jupiter is going to conjunct his vertex. Damn.
I know.
He really is. Man. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with Dave Chappelle in the next year.
Well, and he just, for the last 2 years ago, had solar arc Neptune square his natal Uranus. So he also is about to have Fortuna in the next 4 years, 3.5 years, crosses IC and opposes MC. But taking a look at his Mercury being the ruler of his 10th, and it's getting squared by Pluto, the ruler of his 3rd, talk about a fucking Mercury square Pluto in solar arc. As Pluto, transiting solar arc Pluto is going to square his natal Mercury right now. And I mean, this is where they're going to definitely come after him.
Mercury on Eros.
His Mercury in Leo with Saturn that's in transit right now, opposing it.
Yeah.
And it's going to square his solar arc Pluto, opposes Mercury, and the Moon just left Leo for the last 30 years of his life. And now it's in Virgo. And now he's feeling uncomfortable and he's having to say things in the 12th. Look, it's about to go into his 12th house when it's 1. So 2024, It's going to be right here in 2023. In July 2023. There's his moon going into the 12th house. That's also when Neptune's going to be in his 7th house, watch transit-wise, right? So we can look at the transits and we can go bring it all the way back, and we can bring it back to that July date. And that's when, Neptune will have retrograded and it will come back into the 6th. Oh, let's go back one more month. There we go. Neptune's only going to come within
right
3. There. I mean, that's the thing about astrology is these degrees and minutes are not exact. There's actually a little bit of mean playroom. Even when they say it's true, it's not technically true. So that's right out of 7th house.
Oh, that's as conjunct the descendant as it gets.
And his progressed moon will be with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's beginning. And
Sun on his solar arc Mars.
And that's the month prior to his solar arc moon moving in the 12th.
Wow, that's a big deal.
And it will be with the last degree of his progressed moon in the 8th. Oh, wait, where am I? I was thinking those were progressed. I was looking at transiting on the outside. But yeah, Jupiter is going to be with his Mars too. But that's crazy because that's also Pluto coming into Aquarius for him, which is going to start quincunxing his sun. It's weird though, because Placidus-wise, because of his interception in Cancer and Capricorn, which is always, I say, the weirdest people who have the gnarliest situations that happen to them are people with the nodes in intercepted houses. And he has the moon and Saturn, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if he disappears.
I think he might disappear, but come back with that Uranus isn't going to let him disappear. That's part of his past life thing, right?
Got scrutiny.
I need to go find safety from public scrutiny. And I feel like I have control in my 4th house, where it's like your comfort is actually, North Node 4th house, is actually by still, you can't be private, you can't try and protect. He's going to have to learn, the more he puts his protection around from his career to his family, is the more he gets attacked. The more that he's not afraid of that, it's all coming up to that for him. Especially with Pluto getting ready to conjunct. I mean, Pluto's ready to go into his 5th house. Talk about the end of his, I don't want to say the end of his marriage, but it looks very, 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 very probable that his marriage is coming to an end.
Ruler. Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting for relationship and family and home life. But I think that progressed moon too, I mean, that's same kind of energy, 4th house energy.
I mean, and he's young, so he's still, I feel like he's bored in his relationship.
Chiron in the 7th.
Let's not forget that Saturn and Pluto met at 22 degrees in his 4th on his Lilith. But I think the biggest thing is the aspects to his Mercury, solar arc-wise. Even over these next, year and a half, the progressed moon squaring his Mercury at that 1 month when that'll happen. And the fact that his solar arc moon is about to come into the 12th and conjunct his sun. And his moon is intercepted because it's ruling an intercepted house.
It doesn't know where it belongs.
It doesn't know where it belongs. So he's going to go through, I think, an emotional, I don't want to say crisis, but it definitely feels a little bit crisis-wise to find who he is. Like it's like he's been trying to avoid a crisis, but he's been playing with it subconsciously because he doesn't realize this is what's going to help him find who he truly is. And also, he can't keep playing on, he's kind of on all sides. He's got to find what side he's on.
Yeah.
I think that his relationship plays a big part of that, because he doesn't want to disrupt his family life or his kids' life or all that. But that is what, it's like he tried to save the family in his past life in the 10th house. Like, and he did not get where he needed to go. And it didn't work out. It would kind of be like, no, let me put the mask on you on the airplane first, you know? When you're the one who needs to put the mask on to drive the fucking plane to drop the soldiers off that are going to win the war. And no. That he can't play that again.
No.
He's toying already around with it. It's going to be, especially the chaos of Uranus with his progressed sun and solar arc sun within a year, making an exact conjunction and looking less than a year from now. He's already going to be going through some of the most extreme stuff he's ever gone through in his life, with Neptune starting to exactly oppose his ascendant.
Yeah.
And his ascendant lord is Mercury, and so is his, and that's a Virgo rising thing, but it's also his 10th house lord. So talk about his career and identity all going through a loop with relationship shit
and
family and all of it.
And Jupiter's going to square his node.
And the Aries eclipses and Libra eclipses coming in the next year and a half, and the nodes all are going to be on his Uranus, on his Venus, on his Pluto, and his Chiron, with a Chiron return. Talk about a guy who's about to make Kanye look like, you thought Kanye went through a lot?
Yeah, he's going to have Jupiter all over his Mars too. His whole, he's about to just go through some crazy transformation within all the family, personal life, career, and he's going to have to take that emotional responsibility for everything and not like put it on the world or his wife.
I don't think he will. I think it's that he's let everybody put it on him and he hasn't stood strong enough yet.
Yeah, he's going to have to take all the, that's like the North Node in Capricorn in the 4th, is you better take responsibility for everything.
Yeah, not be afraid and show up.
And show up. Yeah.
Because all the North Node Capricorns
with what you're
I know.
Really feeling. You can't suppress it.
Yeah, I know some North Node Capricorns who have escaped right now and are hoping to have the South Node in Cancer be nursed back to health, run back to some feminine energy to save them.
He's going to have to do that.
And there's nothing
and
there
his
but a
return.
Yeah, with his Chiron return, that
this is his moment to
right. And he has the moon square Chiron, and he has an interception in the houses of the 10th and the 4th, dealing with both those that are inversed and flipped. It's so fucked.
That's a lot. Well, I'm rooting for him. I really fucking like the guy.
Me too.
He's
and
always been
I
one
think
of my
it's
favorite
gonna
comedians and like actors.
I don't think it's gonna turn out bad. I think it's gonna turn out good, although it's gonna look like hell for him, but it's gonna be heaven on the other side. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
You could see it when he talks too. He lights up when he's doing his work. But I would say that that's 1% of his life, and the rest of it is what we don't see is him not that happy.
I believe you. That seems about right.
Like, and this is where he's going to have to go through that, because he's supposed to be a shocking figure. And of course he's scared with solar arc Pluto squares Mercury, his ascendant ruler and lord, and the lord of his 10th. Of course he is. And Leo in the 11th,
his solar arc Saturn on Mercury.
I would say with the South Node in the 10th, he's afraid of the fucking people, the people in the audience coming in. He should be more scared than Chris Rock.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you know what I mean? But that's also the illusion. It's not going to happen again. But he probably fucking in a past life, he could have been a fucking political figure, or at least somebody who was an authority. And people rallied against him, and he ran for safety. And that was where he got killed, or that's where he got the worst, was the safety he ran to.
And it was probably for expressing his true feelings.
Right.
About what he really felt.
Instead of and then owning it and holding it.
Yeah.
Instead of running for safety. It's almost like, oh, the guards got this, come with me. And then he goes to a place and really he dies of typhoid fever or something or whatever. Or again, You know, it's like the place where he thought was safe is actually the most unsafe place.
Yeah.
And that's what he does now. Like, I'm safe in Ohio with my family, private. That's all ending.
Yeah, it can't just be that. It's like right as North Node is ruled by Saturn with the South Node, conjunct the MC.
Well, and he can't play anymore and say he's a Democrat.
He's redoing it. He's redoing like that. He has to go out there, express himself vulnerably,
Right.
but take authority, take responsibility, and not run from it. He's got to create the safety within himself, no matter what.
Right.
And still be who he is, and still show up, and still.
Right. He can't
go high.
He can't be playing, I'm a Democrat, but I'm really showing how Trump was right. I'm really showing that, you know, Obama was wrong. I'm really showing that all the things the Democrats stand for right now are fucking ridiculous.
Right.
Like, I'm going to say about Hollywood that it is ruled by the Jews without saying it.
Watch, he'll be a big activist for Trump's new party.
Who knows? I mean, I still think the announcement tomorrow is a bad idea based off the astrology. Although it worked out for Lincoln with Jupiter that was at 21 retrograde Gemini square Neptune at the same degree. So when the last debate where Abraham Lincoln made his last fame, it was the first time too that in 1858 that people could write fast enough and get it to a guy on the telegraph and have it be electronically sent to where people around the states could know what he said. Both of them said in the debate. It was the first debates that were ever like, oh my God, this is what the two Senate guys are saying. And when you think about it was about technology, right? And you think of the smartphones, you think that Trump's been canceled so much. But the media is talking about what he's going to do, but they're not going to probably air it. Or you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they air that shit tomorrow out of nowhere. That's how you know there's something weird going on. If the fucking media airs Trump,
then it was all
planned in a weird way, or it's
which I'm still leaning
it's
towards
his
the
way
side
of
that every single thing we see from the public spectrum,
right,
and the political spectrum is planned. Like,
well, I think the smokescreen that Trump's going to do to sell it to people is that he's going to run for president under this new party. But what the South Node illusion is he's not going to run for president.
It's going to be someone else.
It's going to be somebody else, but he's setting it all up.
Yeah.
And I think he enjoys with his 10th house more setting it all up and being the guy who did it and was president. But his 10th house is satisfied. It's about the legacy now.
He's in that nodal return group at this point in his life where...
And he knows he wouldn't win. He's not stupid.
No, I agree.
He's not stupid. He knows he will not win.
It's time for him to do the next step.
And you know what? Maybe he's North Node Uranus. Maybe he surprised everybody and says, I'm not running for president, but I'm starting a new party. And Carrie Lake is sitting right there, or fucking DeSantis is sitting right there. And the new Speaker of the House, whoever that might be, if it's going to be Kevin McCarthy or if it's going to be somebody else, because the fact that Matt Gaetz, who's homies with him, fucking quizzed him and two other people were in the room, and Kevin McCarthy's like, nah, I won't get any Democrats to do anything. And he fucking called the Democrat, and the Democrat admitted that, yeah, he called me, tried to switch parties. It's a massive... like, people think, just Trump's gonna run for president. People are so dumb, and the media is just pushing a thing. Like, they're based off the astrology using the history and looking at, oh my God,
it's actually exciting.
It's very exciting, and to see Dave Chappelle, he knew by doing that, by not telling them in the dress rehearsal and coming up with his own monologue on live television, he knew he set himself up. Because people got to have courage. You can't, at this moment, say, I'm not picking a side. Oh my God. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, he even made fun of the whole entire fucking Game of Thrones series.
That's hilarious.
Because it's so true. It's like, trying to make, I mean, they talk about blackface, like that's blackface at the ultimate. When you try and make black people fit in like white people in fucking Game of Thrones, like that
Lord
makes
of the
no
Tides
sense.
and
Or
happen
like
to be all
whenever,
like about the ships and sailing.
Or it's
they
like-
made such a funny skit. In
I
Saturday Night
know,
Live
or
about
like
that.
it's like white. What was that movie? White boys can't jump, or white men can't jump.
Yeah,
It's true.
it's true.
Some of them can, but most of them
Most
can't.
of them can't.
Right? Or whenever they show in the movies the white guy who's trying to be like fucking a gangster or like a fucking rapper, right? It's like, okay, yeah, like Eminem did his thing, but like Eminem is 5 of clubs, like fucking Libra, like spat fucking his rhymes different, but he worked with Dr. Dre and they weren't trying to make him black.
No, he was just himself.
Correct. That's why it worked.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is like the secret majority isn't about Democrat or Republican anymore. The secret majority is most of the people that didn't buy the spell, which I would say there's a lot more than we all realize, are
Especially
all
now. There was a lot of people that bought it that bought out.
right. That I feel like whether it was Elon Musk taking over Twitter and exposed, they were paying every employee $400 a day for lunches. Did you see that he just canceled that?
No,
$400 a day for lunches.
Wow, that must be a
an
damn
employee.
good lunch. That's
Right?
a hell of a per diem.
Okay, like I feel that you've been seeing the chess pieces on both sides during these eclipses and everything, and Pluto at the end of Capricorn. Like Michael Luton said perfectly in a post. Did you see it the other day? He said, when you ask when's the revolution gonna happen, you already missed it. And so most people who right now are, when's the revolution gonna happen? You already missed it, because people are already in the revolution doing the revolution.
Yeah, it's been going on.
It's been going on. So, and he shows this house toppled over. Like,
Sometimes I think I should get on Facebook just to see what he's up to.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like I was teaching in my class, like in order to do prophecy, the fact that I found the Pope's speech, nobody else did. There's only 4,000 views on it, on the largest Catholic network and religious network of the whole world. Yesterday morning when I woke up, I fucking looked at my phone, looked at what I subscribed to, and there's the Pope, and I read it, and I'm like, I don't know why, but my gut said, watch this. And it, right when I pushed play, it went right to the part when he's talking about people who are looking at horoscopes and conspiracy. I'm like, wait, what? And I literally screen recorded it and made the reel right there. And it just happened. Right? So I taught people with prophecies. I mean, people should go to the school, Hypergate 2.0 on highvibetvschool.com. But you have to be looking at the areas that you're building your prophecy with. All the time. I'm always looking in places that people would think, why do you watch the Democrats? Why do you watch the Republicans? Why do you watch science? Why do you watch space? Why do you watch flat earthers and people who don't believe in flat earth? Why do you follow Helio?
You have to get every angle.
Every angle.
Then you can make your own decision.
Then you can finally make a prophecy.
Yeah.
So that's what's funny about social media. People are like, I'm only on this one. Like, you don't like that one? It's like I go on TikTok once in a while just to see what's hot, and I'm always like, well, I'm not missing out. You know, like not missing out on all those quick fucking astrology things that really are not deep. Like I think long form, whether it's Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson or, you know, the left doesn't have many voices that are long form.
Not singular. It's usually a group if they do.
Right. So it's like when you think of it from that standpoint with astrology too, the long form astrology that's out there is really weak. The podcasts from a lot of these astrologers like Eliza Kelly and stuff, it's not rich. It's bland. Or Shani Nichols. Or, you know, it's just missing so much. And I've been on Eliza Kelly's podcast and she's a Leo and I like her, but she's also a super lefty and unfollowed me because I voted Republican and all that shit. Like, wow, all these crazy astrologers that unfollow or Stephen Forrest blocking me. I was going to make a meme and I chose not to be respectable, but I was going to say now that all the evidence is out about the shot, I was going to go and find his post where he told everybody, go get the shot. It's just like every other shot. and be like an evolutionary astrologer telling you there's nothing evolutionary about this shot, yet it's evolved into something that's not a vaccine, and also at the same time is using a technology that was evolved, and you think he's an evolutionary astrologer?
And he hasn't adapted yet?
Like, what a joke. He should stop calling himself an evolutionary astrologer.
Yeah.
He doesn't even understand evolution when he's putting that stuff out there that I called him out that he blocked me on. And I was just trying to have an astrologer to astrologer public discussion, and he couldn't have it. And
Not many can. When people get their beliefs challenged, they completely suck up and no.
You know, being a conspiracy theorist, at least you know you don't have myocarditis.
Shut up. Shh. That was a good meme.
That was a good meme. Man.
And it's so true.
Or I feel bad about Catholics right now, the way that the church has just fuck the astrology thing for a second, even though I think that's a relevant thing. But think of all this, the rape and the child shit and all. And then they're just coming out and just saying, when the world's having insurrections or, you know, any of these world wars, just don't worry, put your faith in God and don't question anything. Stay in God's, you know, like, just keep God close to you. Well, say that to, and I believe that too. But it's like, God says don't be gullible too. Jesus says don't be gullible. It's like, okay, well, don't be gullible following this fucking Pope who's telling you to fucking, you know, not question anything and just keep your fucking...
At least astrologers will tell you, the good ones will tell you to question it and do your own
do your own thing
and figure it out for yourself.
And good astrologers believe in God.
Right.
So, you know, especially John D. or even Nostradamus or you or me or, you know, it's the lefty astrology never talks about God. You never hear it once.
They're like scientists. It's weird.
Yeah, they've left their... I don't know.
When I was back on Twitter back in the day, I used to see astrologers over there saying that astrology isn't, you don't have to be spiritual to do astrology, and trying to make a case for it. And I'm
That's insanity.
I just couldn't like wrap my head around that, just because I would have never found astrology if I didn't become spiritual, for one, and then just the connection to it.
Right.
And the cosmos and it's God's, you know, painting for us. It just blew my mind that people actually believe that it doesn't have a spiritual correlation by default. Like I don't know. I couldn't with that. There was a lot of things that Twitter astrologers said that I just... You think TikTok astrology is bad? Twitter astrology is the worst.
Well, I think, it's more debates on Twitter astrology, but I also feel like Twitter astrology isn't relevant.
No.
It's not really relevant. It's just other astrologers complaining to each other about and wanting to band up together about...
That's all they do is complain.
Yeah, that's
to
true.
each other.
Yeah.
And then they also are always arguing about, oh, you stole this. You probably read the same book as the person that, like... But you didn't cite him. Like I get it. Like you don't want to go around stealing people's content, but there's so much just information that so many people have digested that you don't have to put like a cliff note at the bottom, like Mars is the ruler of Aries. Well, who's the first person to come up with that? Like, you know, like little stuff like that. Like people would jump on each other over. It was just a place for astrologers to argue, basically.
I mean, I agree though with the debate of giving credit. Like I just gave credit with Michael Luton.
I do too.
I'm not going to try and say that.
But to an extent, because some of it's just...
And that's what I teach in my school, that you always give credit wherever... If you're going to use a part of astrology, then you give the credit. Like when I use certain stuff, I will give the astrologer the credit where it's like, I learned this from this astrologer. Like when I use solar arcs, it's like Noel Teague. I use all of Noel's solar arc work He's the one who came up with it.
I completely.
And I always will cite him.
When it's like profound, big stuff
You
that
know?
somebody discovered and came up with and that they really were the first to put out, yeah, 100%. But when it's such basic stuff that's been around since the beginning of time, like, I don't know, Ptolemy. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
no, but I get it. But that's like also like basic stuff that we use.
Exactly.
So I get that on that,
So
right?
those arguments were, I
Right.
always thought they were ridiculous. But yeah, if somebody made a bold prediction and came up with it in their own way, and then somebody else would take that, no, fuck that.
Right.
That's fucked up. So I agree. I do. I was more referring to like petty shit. On like you really think that this Twitter astrologer was the first person to say that? Like,
Well, I think it comes
You
down
know?
to receipts, right? Like
Yeah.
I did in my deep astrology, because you film them all. When Mars came into Gemini, when was that? August, right? July into August, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, pay attention to Mars going to 15, 16 degrees and 17, 18 degrees. This is where the transit of Venus was.
Yeah.
And then we're going to pay attention to it through the retrograde. And this should seal the deal on what the fuck is an unknown of the 2004 and 2012 cycles in our lives of the Venus eclipse or the transit of Venus in Gemini. And I finally saw an awesome astrologer, Gary Caton, who's amazing. And he started asking those questions. And I wrote to him a long thing like, dude, this has been on my mind the whole time too. But he's looking at it from a different angle of like Mars is retrograding where the Venus 2012 retrograde Venus was, but Mars is going to be lower in declination. And so he's looking at it in that point of view. But also it was that Venus eclipse that was at the lower declination on the sun, where the one in 2004 was on the higher declination. So I brought up to him both and the whole transit of Venus itself, and that they're both eclipses, and that Mars is the only one in medieval astrology that could cut off and complete the energy of eclipses. So why not, as astrologers today, look at it as this will be the first time that we can see what this is going to be, with Mars cutting and completing and bringing to the identification of what these obsessive transit of Venus 120-year cycle of an 8-year cycle is, because whether it was King George during the Revolutionary War was obsessed with the transit of Venus, or astronomers or astrologers who've been one of the first pictures. It's like a picture of it. That there's been an obsession with this Venus, transit of Venus, which is very rare. We're lucky we lived through it. And we're lucky that we can record what's going to happen Mars-wise. And I'm looking at it from both declinations. He was looking at it with the 2012, and I think he's already on the 2004. He probably just didn't put it up, but I always love him because I'm like, we're on the same page. So there's no debate or battle. It's like adding to each other's shit. That's the beautiful part of the astrologers that I like is, hey, we're seeing that. It's not, nobody owns that.
Exactly.
Nobody owns that.
Exactly.
Like, we're all figuring this out together. Although most people that are on here are probably like, what the fuck is he saying? Because they're not on high vibes. So they're like, they're not, you get 1% on here, YouTube. And like deep astrology is where I get all, here, you want astrology? But that's what's fascinating about what we're about to see. That's another thing. What do you think we're really about to see with the sun when it comes into Sag and out of the South Node's Scorpio's energy? And even the fact that Venus coming into Sag is the dispositor of the North Node.
Right.
The illusion is that what you think you see right now is how it's going to look. It's all about to really go through the real change, and that the illusion of what it looks like now is not going to be. Not all. And the media with Jupiter, Neptune retrograde, remember this
Out of
great
control.
propaganda, which
all
it's hard to
propaganda.
feel with those two planets.
Oh, in Pisces?
In Pisces,
Fuck.
that even the propaganda of this election right now, and how it's just seeming like, yeah, this one was normal.
Yeah. Nothing's normal.
Right?
Nothing's normal. Nothing's as what it looks like it is. Everything is an illusion. And I mean, everything is an illusion in a lot of ways, but I think that, there's a realness to where we're going. And I do really think that there is a positivity that we haven't seen in a couple years that this Sagittarius season is going to really help with. And it's just like seeing the bigger picture. Like, it's going to open things up and hopefully give us all like something to actually kind of aim our arrow in a direction for,
I would differ, but I would say you're right about the positivity part, but I think it's going to be through a bunch of Sag energy to Pluto's 12th, right? And then Jupiter direct, but in square, right? So the direction is going to be not where anybody has been aiming, except for the people who have been not falling for the spell. And that's where the shattered reality of this lunar eclipse will come, when the new moon in Sag comes and the opposition to Mars with the full moon that will be on Mars retrograde and at the degrees of Venus eclipse shit in less than a month. It will be, the shattered reality will come to its breaking of glass in people's eyes.
Yeah,
it'll get into their penis holes of guys' urethras.
Some real nice mutable T-squares.
It will be splinters in the ass cheeks of every OnlyFans chick. It will be all over the place, and it will shatter everybody's belief in everything that they believed.
I agree. I'm into that. That's some good shit right there.
Especially with Mars retrograde, that's going to oppose the sun, Venus. The full moon is going to be fucking with Mars retrograde. Mercury.
Square Neptune.
It's all going to be the completion of the eclipse cycle that was covering the Saturn-Uranus square. And Neptune then turning direct on December 3rd. Wow.
And Jupiter coming direct in fucking like 9 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the 21st?
Is going to wake up the illusion and all the propaganda, and it's going to shatter with Pluto in Capricorn. It's going to shatter it hardcore. And Venus in about a month and like a week, that's going to be on, or month, or it's like 7 weeks away, when Venus and Pluto conjunct on Christmas or something.
My birthday.
Right? Oh, it's on your birthday, New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Which by the way,
Mercury will be retrograde right before that.
Yes.
I think Mercury goes retrograde on like the 26th.
The 4th retrograde of the year.
The 4th, yeah. So that's another rare one. I mean, it's not that rare. We get them, but still, 4. That's a lot of Mercury retrogrades in a year.
It's the most we can have.
It's the most you can get.
And we already had 6 planets retrograde, which that was a great episode we did. Fucking how rare that is. So, like at one time, that the fact is that people are so caught up in the waves right now, or this, it feels like the whole world is stoned on some indica.
It is.
Right? When the indica comes off and Mars, even with Mars squaring Neptune right now, it's like a boat sinking right now, like, and trying to find its way. It's like listening to the Beatles' Yellow Submarine and you can't turn it off, and you're just like, get that shit off.
Oh God.
Like, like it's so bad. It's like, that's what's going to shatter everything, is the wake up, especially of the propaganda, that's going to expose so much that you've been lied to, that's in front of your face right now, that you're just like, it's like, I believe, but there's too much of the
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of energy out
and you're
there.
seeing, especially when I watch America not bring up what every country's doing about the shot and everything else, or Brazil, or or Iran and 15,000 people being executed. Boy, talk about a country that just wants to watch what the media fed them and just keep eating it like they're in a soup line in the Depression. Keep feeding me my soup. I don't want anything else. And the FTX thing, and the fucking crypto shit, and that fucking Sam Fried fucking piece of shit fried shit.
We talked about crypto on our last episode, and that was right before the lunar eclipse. That lunar eclipse dumped
It dumped hard.
crypto hard,
I
down
know.
to $15,000 right
And we
after
said
we
it.
looked at the chart.
I know.
And we were like, it's not looking good.
Yeah, and it's gonna go even farther down.
No, I'm still thinking $8,000-$10,000.
I wouldn't be
Bitcoin.
surprised 7, 6 at this point.
I wouldn't be surprised if it went down there. I think it bounces back up decently quick from there, but I want to look at the chart.
I mean, the whales have left it. They're waiting now to pounce.
This one.
Did you know that what's his name, who was the big short guy,
Oh, what's this little meter?
just bought stocks?
Still on the sell side.
Yep.
It's pretty low. Oh, yeah. That was the eclipse. We were sitting here with you guys right there at $20,000.
Look at that.
15.5.
That same drop happened in June with Neptune and
Yeah.
Jupiter being separated, and Jupiter in Aries, and Jupiter was stationing at 8 degrees and then went retrograde.
It's not coming back. I hate to break it to anybody who loves their crypto so much that they're like, this is the one, this isn't the one. At 12,000, I'd be like, we'll see.
No, it's not at 85% drop like in every cycle.
Yeah.
So it's got to drop from the 85% at the 63,000.
It's going to sit in this little range here for a week. And then when we get that new moon, it's going to dump again. My prediction.
I think, yeah, it'll dump in December when Venus squares Neptune.
Or when Venus is
I
on
think when
Pluto.
Venus squares Neptune.
Yeah.
And then it will square Jupiter. That week will be the big dump, especially with the North Node being in Taurus. And like that'll be the big dump. And there'll be no toilet paper.
Sorry, crypto. But yeah, FTX is a fucking shit show.
Well, and what's also crazy about that whole FTX deal is like how many people invested in it and how much money they lost and how it was funneling money for the Democratic Party, right?
Oh, we got cryptos in the chat. They're like, XLM, what's Ripple doing?
Oh, here, like I've got the
There's XRP. Yeah, XRP's looking real hot, guys.
well, I'm on Bitcoin, but I'm just showing people how if you really back out here, right? Or here, like I could do it this way. Oh yeah, here. And you could look at there's no volume coming in, and you look and if you scale it back, like that wave that came, man, there has not been a wave like that since the last crash. And look at how long it took to come back.
Yeah.
Right? That was in August. And that one was such a fake wave. And then look at the drop that was there, that one in June. And that wave didn't do much, and it didn't ever do anything again. It's going to crash hard. But, you know, Ripple. I mean, with the centralization of Ripple and the case and stuff, that's not coming till next year.
Sure, Ripple might get back up to 44 cents before it just gets dominated back into the 20s.
To the $2. That was its high, like $2.
Right. And it's still paired to Bitcoin. Like all these cryptos, like that's the thing. They're still paired to Bitcoin, even Ripple. And
and what's actually weird is the stock market has not tanked the way that Bitcoin has.
they usually go inverse.
They usually go, but this is where we just saw an opposite place. But that's kind of the black swan event too, because of how many. Even Coinbase is a listed exchange, or FTX too, and all these things are like listed, and there's all these questions about the regulation, and people are dumb if they voted blue because Democrats held back doing anything on purpose because they want to regulate crypto and they want to get rid of it. And they want to move everything to the digital dollar and digital fucking Fed coin. And the fact is, people have no idea that the fiat system's fucking gone at this point. The mortgage rates, the fucking every position right now is fucked. But I actually heard a really good. I forgot what. From the Run guys, I followed one of the guys because he used to live here in HB, and he now moved to Florida. But he said this. He goes, "This is the prime time for us to just watch whether it's in new. It's all new territory for housing, cars, because the markets are so chaotic and inflation so bad, and we still have to see the fucking drop.
Yeah.
That whether it's in every marketplace, stocks, even crypto, this is the wipe that will make you the fucking greatest if you know how to when to invest. But I think as an astrologer, I would say, well, let's wait till the North Node gets out of fucking Taurus and
straight up.
Like
yeah.
You don't want to be putting your bets in any of these places because the false Jupiter Neptune again is creating that this is the bad, or it's going to be okay, or we have a backstop, when really there's no backstop left. The baseball is going to fly into the crowd and go past it into the river. And it's going to be like Sandlot, where it's going to go into the backyard and there's a crazy dog there, but they don't have a Yankee. The whole team of the World Series of the Yankees with Babe Ruth didn't sign a ball to replace your dad's ball that had a Babe Ruth signature. It's just not, or Hank Aaron, I forgot which one they used.
It was Babe Ruth.
It was Babe Ruth, yeah. There's no replacing the Babe Ruth ball anymore. It's gone in the gutter. And there's no Yankee full team that signed it that you could replace it with to make daddy happy.
I think that guy that you were listening to probably gave some of the best financial advice I've heard anybody give during this time.
Yeah.
And that was just let the market figure itself out. Because it's too unpredictable right now.
Well, the guy who did The Big Short against all the big, like Lehman Brothers, all them, and the mortgages, he just invested today, this Monday.
No shit.
Prisons.
Oh, fuck.
Again, he read that. He only kept his prison position. So that's kind of scary.
That is scary.
He invested a shit ton of millions of dollars into the corporations that own private prisons, OTT markets, digital services like ours.
Yeah.
But I think it's through, forgot which cable company, but that's only going to go into that market and get out of cable and go into the OTT networks and kind of try and be a hub for all these apps and networks and all that stuff to go. That's where he put all his money.
That's cool. I don't like the prison bet because that kind of goes in coincides with like the IRS agents.
That's exactly what I was just going to allude to, is
that's not fun.
Because the IRS is coming after everybody who hasn't filed, and everything. That's their number one target, and they're just going to throw people in jail. Because that's what they did. If you think of Wesley Snipes, that's what happened to him.
Yeah, big time. He got it bad.
Yeah, because usually they'll be like, oh, well, you didn't file here. File now and you'll be all right. But what better way for them not only to get the money, but then make an example of people? If everybody's all scared, they're going to start paying their taxes. And that's why Venmo was created by PayPal. Like, that's why it was all set up to find out who's not paying. And even how PayPal was going to pull $2,500 out of people's accounts. You really think that they had good omens with Venmo? So it's like a bunch of tax people on the internet are saying, just file now, get with a tax person and figure it out. And at least before these new IRS, and especially before the Dems take over, crazy places, or if you're in a state that's crazy. California is the worst with taxes. We pay the most, and they are more Nazi than IRS. You've seen me mail shit back and forth and having,
I know.
It's insane. And I pay.
A lot.
A lot. People's normal salaries that they think they make good money, I pay in taxes. So Sucks. Anyway, well,
Yeah.
poor Dave Chappelle. But at the same time, I think it's at the same time gonna turn out good for him. I just think it's gonna be a test that I think he's aware of, but it's a 12th house thing. I'm not afraid because I'm a 12th house sun with the same rising as my sun. He's gonna squeak through, but at the same time, he is a Sun Regulus person. He's gonna make it through this, but I gotta say, he's gonna be made for public display.
I agree. Which he was kind of made for public display. So
Yeah. But it makes Mel Gibson. It makes and I've been on a Mel Gibson tip lately. Fucking love Mel Gibson. Motherfucker is the man. Or Denzel Washington, all these Capricorn, Pluto shit. But I feel that the display they tried with Mel Gibson or Tiger Woods, and these are all Capricorns, even though Pluto's not coming to hit him. He hasn't even had his Pluto-Jupiter conjunction yet, which I've had that. So I'm like, oh, he doesn't even realize.
I won't even live through that.
And you won't even live through that. That transit was the best transit of my life. It let me see all that is now and that will be for the rest of my life.
Lucky.
Right? So he has not even seen what's possible yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm rooting for him.
Me too. I think he's actually going to be
a big moment and
a place that people will. He's going to be a martyr in many ways.
I think he's ready to step up and own it. I think he proved that.
I wonder if he's like a 3-5 or something, or if he's a 5-1 or something. He definitely has some heretic energy in him, some projection. That's a lot of projections on him.
What you close. I'm curious.
Like, he's got some projections on him for sure. Or he could be a 3-5. He could even be a weird 5-2, which are very rare. And they have the hardest time with mental health too, with being a 5-2. So do 5-1s. Even Ross says, when 2027 hits and the cross of Phoenix fucking comes, all the 5-1s, you're going to have to be like, no, he says, everybody's going to have to then go look after the 5-1s and pat them on the back and be like, thanks for getting us here.
Right.
But damn, you guys went through some fucking crazy projections and some crazy fucking mental health issues from it. And 5-1s are getting our paid due. And 5-2s. And 3-5s. Although not as much, but especially 5-1s.
What was his
5-2s.
birthday? August?
Oh, no, it's just in Genetic Matrix under celebrities.
Oh, he's in there?
Oh, guaranteed he's in there. If they have him on Astrology, they have me in there.
That's true.
If you just look up celebrity and just type in Dave Chappelle, fucking he'll be in there. Let's see who can win if I beat you and I'm still logging in.
You might beat me. I don't know how to get it to celebrities on here.
Okay, well then I'll show people who don't know how to find celebrities fucking with Genetic Matrix. So you go into the info center. You go celebrity search at the bottom here. Dave Chappelle search.
Oh, it's Chappelle. No?
Sometimes I'll just put in a first name. Wow, they don't have him on here. Usually they take from Astrodientist and go that way. Somebody's got to have him. Oh, that's just on Richard Pryor. Did you put him in?
Yep. I got him. Loading.
Oh, they're saying he's a 1-4. That's a weird fucking life.
Oh, he's a 5-1.
Oh, he's a 5-1. I was right. I'm fucking good.
Yeah.
I'm fucking good.
Emotional manifesting generator.
I am good. I am good. I am good. And he's just like me. Kitchen's dry. Fucking. I'm good. I resonated with him, and that's how I do my comedy as an astrologer. And I'm a stand-up comic astrologer. And I knew he was a fucking left-angled fucking one. He ain't. He's a fucking heretic, saying what's true.
Yeah.
I recognize him so fast. How many channels does he have? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't
6.
see after recognition.
6, I think.
I got him beat with 7. Look at his heart center too. It's completely undefined.
And his
no
head.
gates. That's just like me, no head, but
Yeah, no head and the.
but no
identity.
ego center, no heart. I feel like that's where he's trying to maybe. He knows he's trying to prove himself in a way.
Hopefully, he's not trying to prove himself, and he's just doing it from a place of feeling like it's the right thing to do. Is to be truthful and honest and express how he's feeling about this world.
He's almost a penta all the way connected from his root chakra to his sacral to his G center, but then it just doesn't connect to his. He doesn't have the fucking 8-1 of fucking inspiration. That's his problem.
That's his problem.
Well, because if you think about he's a manifesting generator with the 2034, right? So he's got the charisma, but he doesn't have the 8-1 of inspiration. Like he doesn't know how to. So the only way he gets to manifesting is from his gut instinct and through his spleen from the 5720, or I think it's a 5734 is the way they do it, right? Yeah, there's power.
He's got the channel of recognition.
Right. But he doesn't have, and that's the 3041, right? So if you see fucking where that 41 sits at the root to the emotional, because people can relate with him emotionally about things that feel rooted in life. And I forget.
I have that channel.
And especially because for him, that's his black. So that's his astrology, not his design 88 days prior. Right, so he's got that in the. Where's that? Oh, that's his Jupiter, which Pluto's going to conjunct, and then fucking his 30, which he's got what at 30? He's got
his Earth.
His Earth. Oh shit. That's where Chiron is in his chart. His Earth. Or do they do Sun, Earth that way? That's kind of weird that they use the Geo way, but yeah. But Chiron opposes all that. Which they don't show Chiron in these. You have to add it in another chart. But
well, Dylan said that 3041 recognition channel is the channel where people build statues of you.
Especially if he's got the Earth as that 30 channel.
So,
but see, this is going to be a hard time with Pluto at the 60th gate and the mutation that he has no idea how to do based off his astrology. And then he's not going to know how to do that 60, that 360 with the 3 in the sacral to the 60 in the root.
It's interesting that his cross is the industry.
Right? He's being a heretic and he's projecting the system to change the industry.
Yeah.
His brain's active too, which is really fucking weird for a closed fucking head. Mine's not. Mine's passive. His is active.
Yeah,
and his motivation is fear, which is his one line. Well, that's where he gets his facts really big, and his taste, his cognition is taste. It's weird seeing that his determination is open.
Fitting chart.
He's gonna have a tough time with this Pluto Aquarius till it reaches his 41 gate with this Jupiter.
Yeah. Couple years. These next couple years are going to be
really difficult.
Pivotal.
Because he's not going to understand that he's going to have to mutate on every level. Especially he's a manifesting generator, emotional. He's too emotionally caught up. Way too emotionally caught up. Especially in his family shit. His 37 in his design, that's connected to his Mars. In his design Mars, which probably, if it's 88 days, is like in Pisces or maybe even Aquarius. Yeah, where's his Mars at?
Leadership by example. Damn.
The family, 37.
Because Mars is a 6 Taurus, I think.
Right. So I'm just thinking 88 days prior, all the way through Aries is about 40 days, right? And then all the way through Pisces is 40 days. So he could be at the very beginning of Pisces. If you look at his design, or his quantum mandala will work, and we look at the 41st gate, which is sitting in Aquarius, his design Mars should... 37 is the design Mars. Oh, there it is, Pisces. Yep. And that's where Saturn's coming. In that 37th gate. See that?
Yeah, it's going to station close to that.
Mm-hmm. Being an astrologer with human design is deadly because I'm already in my head going, this motherfucker's Mars design is in Pisces. And Saturn's coming. Like that's the shit that I don't see human design people. They're not really good with astrology. So they have to rely on the charts. Where if this system goes down, I would be like, oh, you have your design here? Okay.
A lot of his design stuff is going to be in this Mars retrograde.
Right, and so with Pluto right now, that's transiting his 61st gate to the 60th gate that he has open. And think of his Mercury, right? It's in the 7th gate in his personality side. So that's what's being squared by his solar arc Pluto. And that's what's in his G center. That he's feeling what to say, but he's afraid to say it. And he's afraid to put it into fucking fruition because he's lacking that channel to his throat chakra. Which I can't see. What channel is that again? 21? 31. Oh. Which, that's in Leo.
Yeah.
So, he's going to need to find courage like a motherfucker because the courage that we just saw ain't shit. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to discount the courage, but I'm saying what's coming up is going to be way more crazy courage that he's going to need to do than he realizes. And the mutation that he's afraid of going through is what he must go through. That Capricorn 4th house North Node is not it's stable emotionally. It's you must climb a hill you don't want to climb and mutate.
Right.
That's gonna change.
Even his design moon's in Capricorn.
Right? And Pluto's just finished that.
He has so much karma in Cancer Capricorn axis. It's crazy.
I know. Yeah, and his sun sits in the 29th gate. So, you know. It's not, it actually is part of his connection to his intuitive center, or his G center. It's a sacral center. So, he's going to have to survive.
I think he will.
And he will intuitively know how to.
Yeah.
What does that connect to that he's got? It's a black and red or not? If you zoom in, zoom in.
Oh,
like,
4629?
Mm-hmm. He's got it. Yeah, he's got the 46 on both Pluto and Venus.
Yeah.
And his Pluto, Venus are in Libra. So he's already learned how to intuitively go through it. He's just like, you know what his biggest fear is? His biggest fear is the past coming back to do something worse. And
I think it's also about people and their judgment on him. Like what
Yeah.
people think. I think that what the public image of him actually really, it gets to him. Big
totally.
time.
That's like a
And
soft
Chiron
spot.
in the 7th, and yeah, like it's a
It
soft
gets to him,
spot.
but it also gets him off too. That's the thing. It gets him off.
Well, I hope he gets off.
I mean, whenever I
Chappelle.
see a moon in the 10th, the second the fucking cameras turn on and he's on that stage and he's got a little trick up his sleeve as a 5-1 with a moon in the 10th and a very strong moon, a Cancer moon, I'm a Taurus moon in the 10th and I'm a 5-1. Talk about fucking, I don't like it, but oh my God, I like this the most, the moment of it.
How do I know he has karma with Cancer and Cap? Because his nodes are there and they're intercepted. So,
And Pluto's finishing in Capricorn here. And on top of that, he's moving into some crazy human design transits
yeah.
in empty spaces and getting ready to, he's going to go through, especially with Neptune stuff opposing his ascendant. And think of the beginning of Neptune in Pisces when it opposed his sun.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's going to have it oppose his ascendant, which is the Lord to not only his 10th, but that ascendant, which is Mercury in Leo, which is about to have Saturn oppose it, and his solar arc Pluto in Scorpio transiting
And Uranus.
at 21.
Uranus is going to square it too.
And Uranus is
It's a
going to
lot.
square it too next year
Yeah.
with Jupiter
It's a lot.
in the next year or two.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk about, well, I have Mercury at 26 Leo, so I'll know, I'll look at his fucking Uranus square Mercury and be like, oh shit,
Keep an
okay.
eye on Dave.
Right? Like,
Oh, shit. Dave.
huh?
Dave.
I'm not done with Uranus, you know.
I just
I've already
realized
done
you
with
guys had the same
Sun,
first name. Took me
Venus,
this
and now
long to
Mars
put
and
that one together.
Scorpio. And so I'm like, okay, and I'm not done with Mars and Scorpio yet. I have one more opposition, but I'm like,
It's so funny. We looked at his chart and we're like, wow, it's very similar to you.
yeah.
It's got the same name, same design, same 12th house sun with a late degree rising.
Yeah,
That's
I
so
mean-
funny.
And that's why I looked, that's why maybe I pay attention to his shit. I'm like, oh, what's up with that dude right now? And how he knows how to go off the cuff so well.
Yeah, he's an improv guy.
And the characters he creates are so extreme. And that's how I create crazy ass characters. People that I actually don't get them on camera, but if my girlfriend could fucking video my characters, I play 100. I play 100 of them.
Characters.
I play 100 or more.
You're actually super funny when you're around. Like that road trip we were on to Texas. you played fucking so many different characters in the car just to make her laugh. I was laughing in the back too, but it was hilarious.
I do. I play I make up characters and I will fully embrace them and act them out
For
40 minutes to an hour,
it needs to be.
2 hours, 3 hours, and I won't stop until it's done. But I will play the characters out, and I have so many. I'm like, oh fuck, and they're not categorized; they just show up, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this character. Remember when I fucking dressed up at the event?
Yeah.
And nobody was there. It was done.
Yeah, we came at lunch.
And I came to be the fucking, what did I say I was? I was the high priest. I was the trans high priestess from the Middle East, and every woman must wear their hijab.
Yeah.
And I dressed as it. And I said, I am going to teach you to be the best teacher is a trans high priestess. You want to be a high priest, you'll never be as good as me. And I was totally dressed. I put on every spiritual amount of clothing I had brought to Texas. And it was 100 degrees. And I was in full blown Burning Man, fucking at middle of the night desk, everything head to toe.
You showed up every other day.
And we went to Chick-fil-A in the middle of Texas.
Yeah.
And I fucking ordered, and a guy looked at me like, who the fuck is this guy in a Mercedes? And I I was playing the part in the car. I was like, no.
Even the people at the event were like,
the fuck is he doing?
"What? You were wearing a suit yesterday. Who the?"
I said I came as the trans high priestess.
That was so funny.
Yeah. And that, no, you can't. No, you want to be witch. You want to be high priestess. You'll never be as good as me, the trans one. But I'll teach you good enough. Yeah, I told my girlfriend, I'm like, you'll be like the fourth best in the world. If you don't remember that, you'll be like the fourth best. I'll be the best. You'll be the fourth best. Nobody could ever get to the first best. I'm the first best. Oh yeah, it was fucking hilarious. Oh man, and people don't know that I play those characters every day.
Well, that's the thing is you're a fucking Leo and you like to have fun.
Yeah, and that's where I feel sad for him because I feel like he does, but I think his relationship and his family dynamic of that, and I think it's his partner based off his chart, is so bad, and he's trying to hold on to that as that he's different, that he escapes Hollywood and he lives a normal life when really,
yeah, he bragged about living in Ohio.
Right, exactly, where J.D. Vance is now the Republican senator.
Nobody brags about living in Ohio.
Well, I mean, Prince, right? Didn't
Prince live in Ohio?
No, but Prince lived out there in Minnesota, right? So, he did the same. It's like he's trying to pull a Prince, but it's not going to work for him. That's the whole thing, is to embrace who he is and that the public wants him. Yeah. And that he'll find his security with the embracing
of the people by... Because for everybody that cancels him, 2 people will love him.
Correct. Especially as a 5/1, he's living in a place where he's trying to avoid the projection field. And of course, as a 5/1, you have to make a choice of taking on the projections. But as a 5/1, I can tell you that, to do the light work, you must take on all the fucking shitty projections and learn to let it roll off you. This person thinks I'm their twin flame. Add you to the long list. I'm fucking got a scroll on this motherfucker.
So true.
Okay. Oh, I'm talking to you in your sleep, in your dreams now. And you believe I'm your twin flame because I'm in that spirit world. Okay, project that onto me. Add that one to the list. Sorry to say that I kissed my girlfriend goodnight. That's a nice way to put it. We Mars and Scorpio to bed together. And we both then do the I love you, good night, love each other, kiss each other, and I pass out and I disconnect from this whole fucking spiritual thing and go home spiritually and wake up and do it all over again. And I don't have visions of these people. I don't go to these people that they think I go to. And the funniest part is I know where I go, and it has nothing to do with anybody here. So that's the projection that, he's afraid of the projection. A 5-1
A lot of
afraid
people
of the
are.
projection is a fucking. That's what he's gonna about. He will not be afraid of the projection in 3 years, 4 years. But it's going to be a long 2 years. His 2 years that's coming up is going to feel like 10. You know? But I think that he could be a signal for change more than an Elon Musk, a Trump, or anything like that, to be honest with you. Because he's somebody who actually is relatable on the best levels.
I think I had his chart wrong.
What did you have wrong?
He's a 2-4.
So that would make him even more scared.
He's the sleeping phoenix.
Oh, shit. And that's what's coming?
Yeah.
Damn.
He's got 8 channels.
Well, let's see. What did you get wrong? How did you get the chart wrong?
Oh, I guess I pushed the wrong number instead of the 24th.
Yeah, because I think when I looked over at his son, it was like in the.
Yeah, look at 29.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, oh, shit. This is a worse chart.
Yeah, we don't need to break it down.
Motherfucker's fucked. You know, he would have been doing much better with that 7 and much better with that 13.
Yeah.
Now that those are missing, holy shit.
Took his G center away.
Took his G center away, took away any form of any way to penta. Look at his head. Fuck kingdom come that's coming. Look at his 36 empty line that's Neptune's filling right now. This fool's fucked. This fool's got the sleeping phoenix, got the 55 where everything's turning in 2027 and he wants to stay chill.
Mountains active.
That's why he would take the fucking job even though he told the audience I don't want to do it. What a 2-4. Nothing against 2-4s. I like 2-4s, but I just feel like, God, you want to talk about somebody whose opportunities, he's not taking the right ones. He's taking the ones that he thinks, like, he's going to have to take opportunities he's not going to want because he just hermits and waits for the right fucking opportunity as a manifesting generator. Emotional. Oh, talk about his relationship really getting fucked up. This motherfucker's wife's gonna come out and say she's a tranny. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, and that's gonna be the whole thing about him with the trans thing. You know, like what?
Oh no.
Or maybe he gets into trans. I don't know. They did 2-4. They change.
Is that what Dylan calls the karma dealers?
No, that's the junksification. If you're not left to right angle and yeah. But you know,
Oops.
I hate to say it, it's so feminine a 2-4 male that
South Node Cancer. with the
oh. So it's gonna be worse. I actually had a little bit more hope for the guy when I saw his 5-1 and I saw those positions that he had at his G center, and I was like, this fool's gonna make it through. I was like, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe he disappears not because he just can't handle it.
He might I don't know. I felt like he might disappear.
You know, he's gonna. He's fucked. 2-4. With opportunities and his network is already fucking lower, and all celebrities networks because they're not. He's gonna have to go reach out to networks that he's not used to, and he's not doing it by being hermited in Ohio with his wife. That's going really bad.
That is a weird one because the hermit wants to hermit, and then the 4 lines like the people like group line, isn't it?
Yeah, you know what? He might have done that to feel out who in his group right now is on his team and who's not.
That could have been smart.
And he's about to have Saturn oppose the sun. We forgot to say that. Oh, fuck. I know that he was tripping.
Just gonna station.
I feel bad
opposing
because I
him.
know he was tripping, but like this fool's got a lot of reason to trip. With
He's got a lot
Pluto.
going on.
I mean, I do too. I'm about to have fucking crazy transits too. So I'm not making fun of him. I'm just saying like, yo, this motherfucker's going through some, like, this motherfucker's about to go through some shit. When you pull up a weaker human design chart, I'm like, oh, fuck, this whole weak.
It's over.
It's not over. It's just the transformation's gonna be much fucking harder. Much fucking harder.
But I mean, even when he did Bale earlier in this in the 2000s, like he just disappeared. People were like, where did Dave Chappelle go? You know, like he'll just.
I know he's not
out.
gonna be able to do that again.
Like he can't emotionally handle the stress.
No,
very
because if
well.
you think about the world that we're living in right now, the opportunities when he came back were prime. We need somebody who used to do well. Now they got that. Now Netflix stock. Look at Amazon firing 10,000 people. Just announced today. Look at Facebook, 11,000 people. Add all these things together and the opportunities are slimming. So for him, and because he's a 12th house sun in Virgo, his subconscious is that he's got his reality figured out when he don't. So.
Still, best of luck, Dave.
I mean, when I had Saturn post my sun fucking in 2021, right at the beginning and at the end, and with Jupiter, boy, oh boy, I went from you predicted everything, everybody loves the Leo King, to fuck you. When I started saying in November and October, but I was saying prior, I was like, do not get this stupid shot. It's going to go bad. Bad experiments, Saturn square Uranus. Bad, bad, bad. And that's when the whole world said, fuck you, Leo King. Fuck you. And I went, what? I predicted this. You're not going to trust me now? Good luck, Dave Chappelle. They won't listen to you for the next 2 years. They're not going to listen to you. They're going to backlash you. They're going to say, fuck you. And you were right the whole time. They're going to fucking fuck you up.
And you got to handle it.
And you got to handle it. And you got to live with it. And you got to, you know, and I'm a 5-1, so I at least go, okay, now they're projecting on me because they don't want to see the truth. He's a 2-4, he's a little bitch. He's going to go run to his wife who doesn't want to be with him anymore and try and stay safe there and be like, well, can you protect me? She's going to be like, well, you provided. I don't do shit. That's some satire comedy right there. I actually care for the guy a lot, but I'm going to be real when it's like, yo, this motherfucker, I hope he hears this shit and is like, yo, the relationship's weird as fuck. Get out of that shit and start fucking owning your shit. And there's opportunities that are out there for you that you need to show yourself available to that you're not. And you're an emotional manifesting generator who's gotten too emotionally stuck and waiting too long. You can feel it. When you feel it, do it. Like you did your fucking change in monologue. Do that every day in every situation now. And you'll get through this. But fucking, if you're going to just think, you know, it's not that people are going to take things away from him. It's the universe is aligning him to get out of situations that are taking from him now. Opportunities that are no longer opportunities and never really were. That's going to be the whole wake up. And sitting in Ohio with your wife that we have no idea, and with Neptune, I'm sorry, but
Neptune in the 7th sucks.
I know, I just finished that.
And look, things are looking clear.
Oh, and the projections, you know, especially if he like hooks up with like another Filipino chick or something. Like, hey, oh, look at him, he likes the same type. It's like people just project. Oh, like people project like, oh, your girlfriend looks like your ex-wife. I'm like, did you see my girlfriends? They're all blonde. So it's like they don't even look down the line. Like they always project onto her. Or it's just so stupid. People are stupid. Like. Look at so, oh, you're going to make the same mistake you made. It's like, you're basing it off a look. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Sophia's done shit
different person.
my ex will never do. And she's a 2-4. My ex is a 2-4.
Oh shit.
Hides everything. Nobody knows what that bitch is doing because she's too afraid to be real and show the world who she really is. Just like Dave Chappelle. And he probably just sits around and looks up at the sky and goes, why am I alive?
Oh no.
Why am I alive? I don't want to show anybody my life. 2-4s just want to sit in the garden and just look and wait for a good opportunity. And they use, I hate to say it, especially the feminine, they use like their sexual, like projected little like thing in their circles and talk to the people secretly that they want to bring the opportunity to them. And they hide that from everybody and then they jump. They're fucking 2-4s just bye. And nobody knows when. But they've known the whole time. They're the biggest liars in the zodiac, in the whole human design, 2-4s. They are the biggest jump to the next best train that they think.
What did Dave Chappelle call Donald Trump?
An honest liar.
An honest liar.
And that's because he sees it within himself. And that's the 5 line that's projecting and subconsciously of Trump, who's a 3-5, to the 2-4, right? Like he's seeing that. He wishes he could be Trump. Not literally, but like courage-wise, and to own it and to get divorces and change and find the relationship as an emotional manifesting generator that Trump is. That's the irony of the whole story. So I'm glad that his chart changed because that actually just made, I sat with it like, I mean, I could see the 5-1 thing. I could see that. But it kind of felt like, well, I was kind of searching. Now I'm just like, I don't even have to look at the chart. I'm like, ah! And with this astrology, I'm like, this fool's fucked. Poor dude.
What do you think his card is?
What's his birthday's? The 24th of August? Oh... I know that the end of August, the clubs kind of run into the... That's what sucks. I feel bad for Virgos, especially like August 23rd and 24th, because they run into dual cards. Like, Leos are the only one with 1 card.
Scorpio's got 3.
I know. I'm just saying that, like, like being born a fucking Leo is so amazing. Fucking, we're the only ones who get the special treatment.
Nah.
No, think about it. Leo is the only one that is ruled by the sun.
I only have 1 card every day of my life, bro.
I know, but you're talking about destiny card. I'm talking about all the systems in one.
Yeah.
Leo trumps all of them because Leo is ruled by a star.
It's true.
Everything else is a planet. Why in destiny card system does Leo get 1 card?
2 of clubs.
Yeah, he's 2 of clubs. Oh shit, that means he's attached to the Ace of Hearts or something like that? Or Ace of Diamonds? Go back. Click one more back. Ace of Diamonds, right?
That's his 52-day card. His yearly card's the 10 of spades. And his daily card's the 10 of clubs.
2 of clubs is, I think, connected to Ace of Diamonds or Ace of Hearts.
Yeah, let's see what the karma is.
I think it's Ace of Hearts.
Ace of spades.
No, I know that's the karma card, but
okay.
Which that's not a good karma card. It could be a great one. It could be a bad one. Depends on his life and how he does things spiritually. And Ace of Spades is a very rare card.
Yeah, it's the inner fear of death or change and explains much of their behavior.
Yeah, I think 2 of clubs is it's
a card of conversation.
It's a karmic. It's a what's the word? It's a fucking. There's 2 cards. There's another card attached to it, so it's like there's not just 1 card.
Yeah.
It's a card attached, and it's the Ace of Hearts, if I'm correct. That's always with the 2 of clubs on that.
I don't know from this site, but I know from...
If you just type in 2 of clubs, destiny card, and then it will always say it's connected with the Ace of Hearts, I'm pretty sure. Or it might be the Ace of Diamonds. You can just look at a description of one and they'll talk about it, but it's a what's the word? It's not a dual card. It's a fucking Like you can't it's a card where you're attached to. It's not the karma card, but it's one that's. Oh, what's the word? Do I gotta find this shit? He's 2 of clubs, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the ace of clubs that I'm thinking is connected to the 2 of hearts. He's a 2 of clubs. Fear to cooperate. Here, I'll show you. I need to get 8 of diamonds on here on a show. Yeah, so 2 of clubs people are the most gifted with brilliant minds, beautiful, and most of their dreams have come true. Once they recognize their spiritual strength, that would be the ace of spades is the karma card. And King of Clubs is Mercury. Venus is Jack of Diamonds. And we're going into a 7 of Hearts year next year. So, yeah, it's 2s are always cooperation cards. That's also the 2 of 4. Oh, yeah, and see the Ace of Spades, yeah.
Oh, we're looking for the planetary ruling card?
No. I was thinking of Ace of Clubs connected to 2 of Hearts.
Oh.
Look at 2 of Clubs. It can work for secret services. I'm telling you, he's doing some secret shit. They're skilled at ferreting out secrets of other people, and they may use the information against you. He might get backed in a corner and try and fucking,
Oh, it's the King of Clubs, I think. It's connected to the King of Clubs.
Yeah, his karma challenge is the King of Clubs. Yeah. Or his transformation card's King of Spades, but his
The King
lesson.
of Spades is fucking...
Oh, it's a very good card.
That's the fucking dope card right there.
But anyway, I got a pee, so we're out.
We gone.
We'll see you all. Make sure that you get the new app if you're on Android. The new Apple one should be out in a week, 2 max. It was good to be with you, Brian. Love you all. We'll see you on the next Spiritual Daddy. We are out. Adios.
Peace.
Peace. Spread it around.